Ben, look, there it is. Episode 4 Tea Party.
Oh my god.
I can't believe we're finally here.
It's insane. We're like so close to the halfway point in this fucking journey.
Sure, the Steam release comes out tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So we're hammering to get this done in time.
Yeah, so we're gonna start recording bright and early tomorrow.
Fuck you. Let's go. I have no clue what we're in for.
I don't even want to. So,
Oh.
yeah, the second day.
Okay.
Remember, we ended at the end of October 4th, and now we're just coming in. So before we continue, I want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that happened last chapter, because that was a fucking long chapter. Oh, look at that clock. Look at it. Look at it going forward. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
10 minutes to midnight.
Thank you. But that was a whole fucking day going, apparently. So there are a couple of scenes in there that, to me, when I was reading through, stood out to me. I suppose I wanted to kind of pick your brain a little bit on them. So, first off, the obvious. Right at the fucking end there, Beatrice went through, like, a few emotions, maybe? What the fuck was that at the end there? And, like, some words flashed at the screen. Something like, you'll be killed, kill me, something like that. It's a lot of really weird shit going on.
So, just for the sake of disclosing this to the audience, though
yes.
It doesn't make any...
I'm not concerned about it, but sure.
When I saw that picture, I felt like I'd seen it before. I think it was an article. I don't remember what it was. I don't want to remember what it was in case it actually had spoilers that I don't remember in it.
Yep.
But if we get to something about that piece of text and I suddenly go, oh yeah, that might be what that is.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, that's... I actually didn't remember that flashed up at that point. I thought it flashed up a little bit later, but, yeah, that's like the big fucking crashing ending of EP4 before the tea parties.
So, it looked like a whole bunch of things where Beatrice had just had this spiel and then there were these bits of text that flashed on. It looked like...
In red,
yeah.
Interestingly.
It looked like a whole bunch of things from, I assume, the culprit being like, please stop me from doing this.
Okay, what do you think, like, where do they come from? What were those, like, flashes of text? What was it? Like,
so...
I don't know, where's the context of those words?
It was about... Beatrice had just said, like, I'm fighting to lose. Like...
Yeah.
Battler should go home.
Which is insane, because she's been, like, fighting him this entire time, and now she's like, I can either keep fighting forever or I can lose. And then she starts, like, telling that to Battler, but then at the end she's like, nah, fuck it, let's go. I don't know. How do you feel about Beatrice just from that exchange?
I don't know. I think the problem is first of all, I didn't see the full text.
I can find it for you if you'd like.
Is it a thing that I'm supposed to have access to?
I mean, we could similarly just, like, scroll back and hit print screen a bunch of times.
That's
like,
true.
I don't particularly care about showing it to you.
Sure.
Or reading it to you, because there are spoilers. Like, the main place I'll be going to find it is there's this guy who, like, read through Umineko and then did a full read through. It's called Ghost Reading Sea Cats. Highly recommended. A lot of people I know love it. And he just is like, let me break down every single line and tell you what it means. Let me see if I can find it.
Shout out to Ghost Reading Sea Cats, linked in the description.
Pretty fucking cool dude. So there's a blown up version in the PS3 like remake of the game. I'm being very careful because he's talking about it like as he's going through them. But there should be like.
So is this like his post read through?
Here it is. Okay. The bit that I've got here, please, any result is fine. Bring an end to my story. Please kill me. Please kill me quickly. Please try and kill me. Try and stop me. If you don't come back, I'd rather not have been born.
If you don't come back.
If you don't come back, I'd rather not have been born. Why am I unable to love anyone? Please, no matter what the result is, kill in my legend. And then that's where yeah. There's like a blown up version that has a little bit more text. But like, if you don't, you will die. And that's it. That's all the lines. They're not nicely laid out for me. I had to kind of scroll through all of them, but yeah. There's a lot of shit in there. There's a lot of lines that you think might be sent by the culprit in some fashion or another.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you draw any meaning from those?
Well, why can't I love? Connecting back to the theory that I posed when Beatrice was standing on a balcony, that'd fit kind of nicely, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. That, like, if we're going with this multiple personalities culprit, Beatrice was unable to love after Battler left. That's what the whole thing is, if you don't come back.
You think so?
I mean, going off what I've said, that's an easy fit, but that's assuming that what I've said is correct.
Of course, of course.
I'm
happy to go along with your theory for a little bit, though, for the purposes of this.
Yeah,
Because in your theory, Canon and Shannon and Beatrice are all, like, personalities or aspects or something of the same person.
Yeah.
Which would mean that, like, that doesn't make any sense then if this is the culprit being like, I am unable to love, because clearly they're in a relationship with George and maybe in canon, like,
well, yeah, but
likes Jessica.
The culprit's perspective is Beatrice, the personality Beatrice.
Sure.
It could also be that it's like, I don't know, it kind of just feels like a wording exercise to me.
You think so?
I think you can make it fit that theory.
So, rather than, like, making it fit the theory...
The thing is that this theory absolutely fucking crumbles under Occam's razor.
Yeah.
Which is this theory with the least assumptions is, like, you know, the best one to go with the lack of other information. But I feel like, having gone back and looked through episodes 1 and 2 and 3 at this point, though not heavily in 3, I feel pretty confident that my culprit theory is correct.
Sure.
Because to my mind, I cannot think of another way to get the ending of episode 3 to work.
Sure.
And then, having made that assumption, or you're already fucking up Occam's razor here, go back and I looked through, as I said a couple of videos ago, and I tried to find, like, motive and stuff. And, you know, the feelings of the people I thought were the culprit, and I mentioned there was, like, you know, the scenes of Beatrice going ham on Shannon about love, there was, Canon, like, fucking up in the very first scene he appeared, when that was, like, something that his character hasn't done since.
Sure.
There was, what was the other one? And there was also Shannon, the only thing that she claimed to remember about Battler from his time before was what he said about something to do with a white horse before he left.
Yeah. He was like, I'll come for you on a white horse or something, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I wanna spin things a little bit, because I do appreciate, like, I think this is good. I like that you're looking at the why. This is definitely something that I have been trying to, like, encourage you to move towards.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's not my normal go-to with these things. And
I think it's important.
Yeah,
because, and I want to spin things around a little bit, there's been a message that, particularly in this chapter, and I think it kind of came to a climax there at the end of Angie's story arc with Aunt Ava and, like, and Kasumi and all that stuff. The idea of looking at things with love. I think that's definitely something that the novel is trying to, like, draw attention to. Love is definitely a part of the story.
I know that there was at some point I saw a thing that said, like, you know, Higurashi was about, like, 3 important emotional aspects and Umineko was another 3.
I don't know what that is. I haven't read that article. I'd be interested to read it, but yeah.
It was, like, the main thing was like, the 2 focuses was that Higurashi was about friendship and Umineko was about love.
Yep.
And this was, like, before we were looking at actually doing this playthrough. I was just like, what the fuck is this thing?
Oh, I see. Independent research. Lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I want to know, I guess 2 questions. 1, do you feel like you've been approaching this with love? Or, secondly, what does, like, approaching this with love, does that tell you anything? Is that something you would like to try?
Well,
or?
First of all, I think the main thing is that I've said it a few times now, but going through most of this, I just didn't care for most of the characters other than being like, that's a cool thing, he's a cool dude, Bronave, best character.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't really care for any of them, but there was just something about Angie's story that hit home with me.
Yeah.
Like, I just actually found myself caring for that character. I don't know if it's like a certain clunkiness, like that entire scene with Kasumi, like as important as it was.
It was incredibly poorly paced. This is something else I want to talk about. Like, And like there was a
Like,
I know we were joking like during the scene, but it's because like it gets to the point where like, okay, it's another time when she's about to get shot, and then something like it just repeats the same story beat within the same scene.
And then also, I have no reason to care for Kasumi.
Yeah, same.
It's like, oh no, she had her life ruined.
But
why should I care?
But I feel like the point it's trying to make about like approaching people with love might have some worth to it.
I completely agree. I was gonna say
because it like as cheesy as it sounds, it's a real thing.
I understand the value of the scene, and this is the problem: is that
I feel you.
A lot of episodes 1 to 3, I felt like a lot of the emotional value of like, look at this cool thing that they're showing us with Shannon and George's love, and you know, comparing their two characters and how they could never be together.
Yeah, definitely.
And all that shit. It's like, okay, that's great. I appreciate this, but I don't care.
Wow.
It was the same with Kasumi. It's like, that's wonderful. I get that this is trying to tell me like the importance of, you know, Angie understanding the love in magic and all of that, but at least on the Kasumi side of things, I just didn't care. And I feel like that's part of why I've been struggling to tackle the story this way.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a fault of my own out of habit for not really emotionally investing myself in stories.
I'm going to tell you a real short tangent, but like I used to approach stories without any love whatsoever, and then I read Higurashi, and it took, as you said, it's about like fucking friendship. Like I don't give two shits about stories that talk about friendship. Somehow Higurashi was the story that like grabbed onto me and was like, hey, power of friendship, my dude. And I was like, this is like really well like written and laid out, and I actually believe in the power of friendship somehow. I feel like Umineko, you know, even if it doesn't like persuade you or anything, I feel like is a good argument, I guess, for like approaching things with love, approaching stories with love, that sort of thing. Because what is the context of the story anyway? What do you think the context of like these tales is? Just the game boards in particular. They're created by Beatrice, right?
So we've been over this a few times.
Yeah, I'm bringing it back.
There was the whole thing where I think that episode 1 and 2 are written by someone different in the story.
Sure.
To the following episodes.
Sure.
And, you know, the first 2 is like relatively easy enough. It's like, if we're assuming that this theory about Beatrice loving Battler, or the personality before Beatrice loving Battler, then it's like that personality exploring the ways that they would make Battler pay for this sin. That's why the sin, I feel like, wasn't mentioned maybe in episode 1 and 2, is maybe because it's like not so much a way of showing it to Battler, but more a way of the culprit coping with their feelings.
Yeah.
And like trying to reason out how they'd actually undertake this grand crime of theirs, if it even was their crime in the end. In like the real, you know, 1998 world, which I'm assuming at this point is going to be the real one, though as we were shown with episode 1, which I originally thought was the truth, that's not so important.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a question of like, what is the real thing? Is this multi-world thing, or is it one world? Like, it's up in the air,
I think when
especially when you bring in the fucking Voyager witches, because Lambda, Delta, and Byrne are really
like when Byrne first appeared and was like, I will get you a fragment where your parents are fine. I can't promise you'll be a happy one, though. My immediate thought was, oh god, they're the culprits.
Right.
So that may still be a thing in the end.
Maybe.
The other thought that I had, I remember I tossed it out a while back, was like, oh shit, what if like Battler's alive? Wouldn't that be a wacky thing? You know, one person survived. What if the reason he's the protagonist is because he survived?
Sure. But like, if the context that we're being shown is that these are stories, regardless of like who actually wrote them, whatever bullshit theory is correct in the end, like in the context of the story of the game boards, Beatrice is telling these to Battler. Right. Yeah,
I mean, I was getting off on a bit of a tangent, but I was going to bring it back to the point. I was going to bring it back to the point where basically, whichever it is, like, you know, who's writing or whatnot, it all seems to be about resolving the importance of the crimes to the author.
Sure.
So, like, episode 1 and 2, if we're sticking with the fact that Shannon, Cannon, Beatrice wrote that, I'm going to stick with, like, you know, it was them resolving what they were going to do, them resolving how they were going to tackle this, like, problem that they'd created themselves. Episode 3 and 4, I don't know who they're written by, but it seems like it's a lot of, like, episode 3 was resolving, like, why are we doing this? Why are we fighting? Episode 4 was, you know, not so much why are we fighting, but why should I continue fighting? Like, you know, what's the point of keeping going at this?
So whoever's writing these stories, like, has something that they're trying to explore and express.
In themselves. And I think with the premise of the story being love, that probably has something to do with it. I don't know what. Like...
I would challenge you to try and seek that out. To figure out, like what can we learn from these people that are writing these stories? Whoever this is or whoever they are, like, what can we learn about them through this tale?
Yeah, like...
that's definitely something that I want to encourage you. I don't want to push you too hard, but that's something I want to encourage.
I feel the beginning of episode... Episode 1 and 2, I think that's easy enough for me to wrap up with my current theory to say it's all about, like, the culprit exploring love for, you know, the three people that they're torn between.
Sure.
Like, you know, maybe that's why episode 1 was more just like, here's a crime, then episode 2 is more like, here's my love problem.
Right.
Episode 3 with a different writing style, I'm assuming a different author, not guaranteed, it might have just been because Ryuka wrote it later, but I feel like the writing has been deliberate enough to ignore that
Maybe.
possibility. I don't know, like, if it's Ava who wrote it, you know, maybe that's why she's the one that survived episode 3, maybe she's, like, looking back and going, like, oh god, look at what happened to my family, was I responsible for this? You know,
maybe.
Even if she wasn't actually the culprit, maybe she's going, like, couldn't I have saved them all?
Yeah.
And it's her, like, hypothetical story about, you know, what if it was actually all my fault?
Yeah, maybe.
And, like, looking back on the love that she had for her family, and regret in that. I mean, that's just if it's Ava that's writing it. And that's assuming that it's someone that was on the island that was writing it.
Sure.
You know, maybe it was Angie writing it and being like, fucking Ava fucked my life.
Ava did it, everything,
Here's what, you know, and then that would be a good lead into episode 4 where Angie's like, oh, it wasn't Ava, it was the Black Witch. And I was responsible a bit for that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could keep spitballing at this.
One more. Okay, I know you want to move on, but one more thing. I want you to think back to the conversation that we just had at the very, very end of that chapter. Beatrice was all, "Kill me, don't kill me. I am a big glorious witch. Here's a bunch of fucking red in your face about how much I want you to kill me and how much I suck." There are some mixed messages there. If we take this to be a story from someone, or that Beatrice, or even Beatrice just talking to Battler is like a story that she's telling him, maybe there's something you can learn about that there. And maybe apply to some previous scenes.
I have an idea about that, but I don't want to dwell on it because it's largely spitballing.
I just wanted to get you in that frame of mind. Table. And everyone else at home, get that shit in mind. Think about what Beatrice is doing. Who the fuck is she? What's her goal?
I don't know, Ben, but I don't have a clue what's going on.
Me neither.
Please someone explain in a way I can even understand. What happened yesterday? I was in the kitchen of the mansion grabbing some food without permission. If you open up that massive business class refrigerator, you can find anything. You can eat and drink as much as you like. Even if the typhoon didn't clear up for a week, I'd have more than enough to eat. With wine in one hand, I was helping myself to some dry cured ham. I wonder just how expensive this wine and ham are.
Damn it, now I want dinner.
Your ingredients are out of luck too. If only you'd had Goda-san to cook you could have been reborn as a much more incredible food. I looked at the clock. Very soon it would be midnight. October 5th, the second day would end. Insane October 4 yesterday seemed like a lie. That's how much nothing had happened after that test thing. Nothing had happened. No phone call came, no letters came, no person came, no one attacked me. Nothing happened at all. When I start demanding a refund on all the time and energy that tension stole from me. Because after that, for an entire day, a full 24 hours, nothing happened. So surely nothing's gonna happen now. Full 24 hours ago, Beatrice called me to the spot in front of the mansion's entrance. There I was given a strange test to determine the successor to the headship or whatever. Gave a serious answer in my own way, but it somehow hadn't meshed with the other side. Beatrice got pissed for no reason and fell silent. I yelled at her to try and say something, but she gave no answer. When I asked where Maria was, she told me to go to the chapel and left. To tell the truth, it was an anticlimax. No matter what kind of weird test you give, at least tell me whether it passed or failed. Trying to say thanks for coming, your results will be mailed to you later. Something like that. Quit messing with me. Anyway, I then headed to the chapel. After failing their test, both Georgianiki and Jessica were killed. I couldn't let Maria get killed too. Also, I might get a chance to catch some person trying to kill her. As a little kid, I often heard from Jessica that you get in trouble if you went near the chapel. So I'd never been there, but at least I knew where it was. Couldn't find any trace of a person there. But there was a key bundle lying in front of the door. I thought this might be someone telling me to open the door, but after trying all the keys, I found that none of them fit. I also called Maria's name, but there was no answer whatsoever. I searched around the chapel, but there was a limit to what I could do in the pitch black with just a flashlight. I realized that this key bundle might be a set of master keys which could make it possible to open the door to the mansion. I found no sign of Maria, so I returned to the mansion. I mean, you think Battler being Battler, he would have smashed a window or some shit, but apparently not.
Nah.
The mansion was wrapped in silence, and in a horrible stench. However, it's amazing how good humans are at adapting. The inside of the mansion must still be wrapped in that smell. However, I grew completely used to it and stopped minding it. It didn't seem any worse than any old house where someone had burnt some meat. Or a grandfather.
Yeah.
In exactly the same way as the other episodes, which is really peculiar. It seems to be the only death that's consistent. At first, I was bewildered by the stench, but I decided to head to the dining hall for the time being.
Oh, don't.
And found those corpses that were so pitiful. Goda-san and the rest had hesitated to speak of them in detail.
Alright, let's go.
I'm so excited to be here. I've been telling Ben, we can't know if they're dead for sure.
Until we find the bodies. Look, you can't trust anyone unless they're dead.
Let's go through the list.
Hoshimi Natsuhi. Her corpse was found in the dining hall. About half of her head was destroyed. It's probably reasonable to assume that she was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. However, the witnesses don't believe she was killed with a gun.
Shimiya Ava. Her corpse was found in the dining hall. About half of her head was destroyed. It's probably reasonable to assume that she was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. I think these are all going to be the same.
Yeah, there it is. Fuck, okay. Shumi Hideyoshi's corpse was found in the dining hall, about half his head.
We got George already.
Anyway, George's.
Rudolph.
Oh, I wanted to go, I am not... Servant Genji. Look, he's got a great voice.
I mean, listen, we could read them all over again, but then we'd just be spending more time, and I've already been warned that these tea parties are very long.
I know. Alright, let's keep going.
At first I was bewildered by the stench, but I decided to head to the dining hall for the time being and found those corpses that were so pitiful. Goda-san and the rest had hesitated to speak of them in detail.
I'll just drink my tea.
It was the remains of Anatsui and the others who'd become the first victims. Half of each head had been completely split open. It was so gruesome that even without knowing a thing about examining corpses, I could say they were 100% dead. And on top of that, the remaining halves of their faces were left like normal, so it was even easy to identify them. Really convenient corpses these were. And in addition to those 6 bodies was one more. 7th corpse was Maria. Oh!
That's different.
That's exciting.
Shumi and Maria. Her corpse was found in the dining hall. Battler wasn't able to make out any wounds in particular, so he assumed that she was killed by some kind of poison. The most peaceful form of invitation to the Golden Land. Poisoned, apparently.
Okay.
Interesting.
That is indeed very interesting. She lay next to Anne Rosa as though sleeping alongside her. I cried. At the death of an innocent young girl. And at the cruel way my dad and the rest had died. I raced through the mansion, swinging the hat stand spear, yelling, "Come out here, bastard!" I couldn't find any trace of anyone else. This is the ultimate locked room. I feel like Battler is the only one left alive on the island.
You think so?
I think so. Thinking they might be planning to hide somewhere and attack me from behind, I went around searching for hiding places. Sometimes growing more cautious, and sometimes intentionally letting my guard down in various ways, but in the end, not even a kitten appeared. He's had a very long time to go and explore all of this.
The whole day.
And the whole night. Yeah, apparently he stayed up.
The whole 24-hour period.
Then morning came. My tension and fatigue combined with my drowsiness, making for the worst kind of dawn. Humans are pretty incredible. Even when a murderer might be hiding somewhere, we prioritize drowsiness and fatigue over our own lives. By that time, I was starting to feel pretty ridiculous. After all, for a full 6 hours before dawn, I'd walked around the mansion, yelling at the culprits to show themselves. But my search had been a careful one, and I'd tired myself and let my guard down. Even so, no one came to attack me. Basically, I lost patience with them and figured they could do whatever the hell they wanted. The boat won't come until the typhoon passes. It said on TV it won't pass until tomorrow, so I got another full day today. Lazing about lost its interest. And even though I knew it would probably make the police mad, I decided to play detective a bit.
Yay!
I'm so glad. First was the dining hall where the very first murder had occurred. Six who had been killed in the beginning really were pitiful. The weapon used was probably a gun. Maybe their heads were split by something powerful like a magnum bullet or a shotgun. It was a reasonable theory to hold. Compared to that, the seventh corpse, Maria, had died in a much better and cleaner way. At a glance, I could see no external wounds and didn't understand how she'd been killed. But by her mouth were traces of bubbles that she might have spat out. Looked like a typical death by poisoning that you might see in a TV drama. Was Maria called out to the chapel and given a test? So why was she still in a corpse-filled dining hall next to her mother dead? Even if the cause of the death was poison, who gave it to her? Her clothes weren't disturbed at all. It's hard to imagine that she was forcibly pushed down and given an injection of poison. It's probably better to assume she was given a capsule of poison or something and made to swallow it. But compared to the scattered and violently mutilated corpses in this room, Maria's corpse was too clean. If they had a gun, they only needed to pull the trigger. But poisoning, whether by having her drink it or by an injection, would take a lot more effort. Considering the culprit's brutal nature, you'd think Maria's death alone was a special treatment. Why was only Maria given a sleep-like death? Sure, being killed is always a pitiful thing, but for some reason Maria's deaths alone seemed very courteous to me. Both of Maria's hands were joined at her chest as though the dead person had put them there herself. Did Maria do that herself before dying? Isn't this usually something done by someone else after the person dies? As though sleeping with her mother, whose head was half crushed, Maria dozed in peace. For some reason, that contrast really bugged me. Including the direct cause, it's probably safe to say that Maria's death is shrouded in mystery. More than anything else, the biggest mystery of this dining hall was the pitfalls. The pitfalls that both Uncle Krause's group and Goda-san's had mentioned. After the first 6 were killed, 5 more fell through pitfalls and were captured. What are pitfalls? Those things that suddenly open and you fall through them, right? The room had a solid floor with a carpet that looked dignified if a bit worn out. No matter how you looked at it, it was a single piece. If a pitfall had opened there, it'd have to be a seam just in that place. And if there had been some trick like a pitfall, wouldn't it creak when you walked on it? No matter how much I walked around feeling the carpet, I couldn't imagine that a pitfall was hidden there. Anyway, it'd be one thing if a single person fell, but a full 5 people did. By putting together everyone's stories, each one of them had fallen from a different location. So at the very least there had to be 5 separate places with pitfalls. So what does this mean? Is this room actually made with pitfalls across the entire floor, so by pushing a button you could open up a pitfall in the location of your choice, some kind of contraption like that? Kind of ridiculous mechanism would be surprising even in a ninja mansion.
A ninja mansion?
A ninja mansion?
How much do those go for?
I don't know. Kinzo could probably afford one.
Oh yeah.
But if Dad and the rest had heard about this, I wonder if they'd say I wouldn't put it past Grandfather to do it, to make it. There you go.
There you go.
At any rate, I didn't learn anything more from the dining hall. Do the pitfalls not exist, or do they exist but I just can't find them, the amateur that I am? I can't say for sure. Since they claim that the pitfalls were there, I can't ignore them even if I can't find them.
Oh.
The next ones to be killed were Jessica and George Aniki. Were they?
Yeah.
I discovered George Aniki when I'd been called out for my test. He'd been called out to the arbor in the Rose Garden and probably shot in the forehead with a gun. Jessica had been called to her own room on the 2nd floor of the mansion. The door to her room was locked, but that wasn't a problem at all since I had a master key. Inside the room it was horrible, but after the dining hall I was used to corpses, so I built up a bit of an immunity. The phone receiver was loose and dangling. Had she been killed while on the phone with me? Jessica was leaning against the wall right next to it, with half of her head split open.
Here it is.
Where is she? Show me at Jessica. Her corpse was found in the room on the 2nd floor of the mansion. About half of her head was destroyed. It's probably reasonable to assume she was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. She was smashed up by her own attack due to George's counter-offensive specialized barrier.
Fucking contradicting, like, statements it's getting more powerful as we get closer to the end. It's great.
I mean, is it contradicting?
Is it? That's a great question.
I don't think it is. I think it's just magic bullshit.
Oh, yeah. What is the magic anyway?
As far as I could tell by glancing at the scene, it looked as though she'd been killed while on the phone. In that case, had the culprit been right there before her eyes? I hadn't gotten that impression when listening to Jessica's voice over the phone. Pretty sure Jessica said they got me. It's probably best to assume that she'd already received a fatal wound at the time of the phone call. That's right, and she also said this. When you come back, there'll be a corpse with half of its head split open. That's what she said. What I could tell by looking at Jessica's corpse, there were no wounds on her other than the damage to her head. Did she have an injury serious enough to make her prepared for death and then died halfway through the phone call? The way she talked on the phone made me think she'd escaped harm for the time being. You shouldn't be able to have a casual conversation over the phone if the culprit's right before your eyes. So did the culprit come in partway through the phone call and kill Jessica? Well, that can't be right. After all, this room was locked. Wait, that doesn't tell me anything. The culprit stole a master key from one of the victims, locking the door. He found a master key on the fucking floor. Why is he concerned about the culprit having one?
He's not, is the thing. Right.
Locking the door would be meaningless, but she had no external wounds other than her head. In that case, should I assume that the fatal wound she was prepared to die from and the actual external wound that damaged her head were two different things? That both of them were made to the same part of the body? In other words, Jessica was struck and severely wounded to the head and received an incredibly bad wound. Then she called me and either lost consciousness or died while on the phone. And the culprit came and damaged her head again, something like that. After being called to this room, Jessica was attacked by the culprit and received a serious injury. And the culprit thought she'd been killed and went away for the time being. But Jessica miraculously started breathing again, and called me with what would become her dying message. Then the culprit realized they'd failed to kill her and rushed back to deliver the final blow after Jessica fell unconscious from a massive blood loss? It seems to add up more or less.
Battler, please.
Except for how Jessica was able to accurately predict the nature of that final blow. There's more than one thing that bugged me about the phone call from Jessica. Jessica had said this: George Nissan's done for too. That was an instant death. She'd said it almost as though she'd witnessed George Umineko being killed. But while you certainly could see the rose garden from the window in Jessica's room, you could even see the roof of the arbor where George Umineko had been summoned, it was far away. Add on the fact that it was the night of a typhoon, it's hard to imagine she was able to witness everything that happened by the arbor from this window. And more than anything else, Jessica left before George Umineko, so she shouldn't have known that George Uminiko's test took place by the arbor. Why did Jessica know that George Umineko had been killed? Also during my search of the entire mansion, I found Kyrie-san's corpse as well. Oh!
There she is. Best kill Kyrie.
Where is she? I keep losing her.
Kyrie.
Was Shiromia Kyrie. Her corpse was found in a guest room deep within the mansion. There was a single hole right in the center of her forehead. It's probably reasonable to assume she was shot with a head or a gun.
She was shot with a head.
She was shot with a head and a gun, or something similar. A demon stake was buried in the hole in her forehead, but it's hard to imagine that this was the cause of death. I didn't miss. I missed on purpose to tease her. Yeah.
It was in one of the old guest rooms at the back of the first floor. In the past, before the construction of the guest house, the relatives had spent the night in these. Kyrie-san's situation matched Jessica's perfectly. She'd probably been killed during her phone call with me. The receiver was hanging untidily and Kyrie-san lay crumpled in that corner. But the way she'd been killed was very different from Jessica. Her head wasn't smashed, instead a stake with an occult design was buried into her forehead. This is the first time that this battler's seen one of these, isn't it?
Yeah. In EP4, yeah. None of the other guys have been killed with stakes in their head. It was a bit weird.
It was so gruesome, so I pulled it out. After pulling it, I realized this might get me into trouble with the police later, so a little too late I set it down by Kyrie-san's side. Its tip was sharp and stained with enough blood that it must have penetrated fully to the brain. I didn't know what kind of metal it was made of, but it was about as heavy as a paperweight. Certainly if you were stabbed all out with something like this, it might cause a terrible wound. I probably knew what that stake meant. It was one of those. A style of killing from the fourth Twilight onwards in the Witch's Epitaph. It's probably that gouge with a stake and kill thing. It never mentions a stake in the actual epitaph.
No,
It just says gouge.
Yeah, it says gouge with something.
However, a human skull is very firm. No matter how much someone mustered their strength, could it really have pierced so neatly? No, by my reasoning, the stake wasn't the cause of death, but had just been used to damage the corpse after death. She was probably killed with a gun or something like George Umineko. And the stake had been stuck in the hole left by the gun. Thinking of it that way makes it easier to accept. But was Kyrie-san really killed with a gun? She said on the phone, even though she was holed up inside a locked room, Kyrie-san was being attacked. In fact, this room had been locked. Also, she mentioned a golden thread or something flying in and attacking her. In fact, there were 4 places around Kyrie's corpse with holes that could have actually been caused by some kind of attack. But a gold thread attacked her through a keyhole? I looked at the door from Kyrie-san's perspective. If it had been one of those old keyholes you could see in you see in old mystery movies, where you can peek through to the other side, then it would have clearly been possible to stick something through it. But even though the doors in the mansion were old-fashioned, the locks were a familiar cylindrical style that you could find in any normal house. In other words, they weren't constructed in a way that would let you penetrate through them. So no matter how much a thin object might try to stick through the keyhole, it's unthinkable that something penetrated from the outside and attacked. A cylinder lock and a keyhole? But despite that, Kyrie-san definitely said that something like a golden thread had flown in through the keyhole, spun around while aiming for her and attacked her. Golden thread attacking through a keyhole. I couldn't understand what it meant at all. But even so, Kyrie-san probably predicted that I wouldn't be able to understand all this. It wasn't just Kyrie-san. Jessica said it over the phone too. No, since the very beginning, from the time we talked with Goda-san and Uncle Kumasawa-san.
Uncle Kumasawa?
I read the line below at the same time. Because I like looked through the pop filter and it's like blocked off Kumasawa.
That's
Sorry, blocked off Kraus rather.
Poor Kraus.
And got the phone call from Uncle Kraus's group. Everyone said the same consistent thing. Grandfather summoned witches and demons and is killing people with magic. It's being shown that right before their eyes. These weren't tricks or fakes. There's no choice but to believe it. With one voice, they'd all said that. When the mystery woman calling herself Beatrice appeared, even I had pretty much believed that she was a real witch and might start summoning goat monsters right and left. However, after being left alone for a whole day, my feeling of tension had faded completely. I was now able to think that something so stupid definitely couldn't be true. Did they lose their heads a little in an extraordinary situation where their lives were exposed to danger and mistakenly think that a witch was attacking them with magic, but somehow all still tell the same goddamn story, Battler? Stupid.
Spin the chessboard, my dude.
But multiple people gave the same kind of testimony. On top of that, none of their opinions conflicted each other. If it had just been a single statement, I'd be able to suspect that they didn't see what they thought they saw, but doing that now is pretty difficult. Then, right next to the back door, I found Uncle Kraus with his head half smashed.
No, Kraus, you were the best of us.
Shimiya Kraus. His corpse was found in a guest room deep within the mansion. About half of his head was destroyed. It's probably reasonable to assume he was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. A demon stake was buried into the damaged area. No one can escape from the Chester's golden arrows.
Damn.
Even though he'd escaped the dungeon of Kuwadorian and somehow made it this far by a secret underground passage, he'd been killed. Buried into the gruesome cross-section of his half-crushed head was a stake with an occult design like the one that had been buried into Kyrie-san's forehead. And in this situation, it was very hard to imagine that this stake was the weapon used. He'd been killed with a powerful gun like the six in the dining hall, and after death he'd been jabbed with a stake like Kyrie-san. I wonder if the gold threads that Kyrie-san spoke of attacked Uncle Kraus too. Does there exist some kind of tool like an endoscope that's very thin but can be moved about at will? And that can also attack people? No way. I've never heard of anything like that. But even so, if this fact had been revealed to one of the relatives, maybe they'd say I wouldn't put it past Grandfather to make it. Since I can't deny the existence of Golden Thread X that can be removed and attack people at will, I can either accept that this mysterious weapon exists, or else I'll have to accept that this was a murder committed with magic. Or that everyone was lying. To find the next corpse, I had to go out through the back door and search around outside for a bit. Behind the mansion in the wild-grown bushes that were almost swallowed up by the forest, there was something like an old well. And right next to it were Dr. Nanjo and Shannon Chan's corpses. No cannon!
There's a perfectly reasonable explanation for his absence.
Family Dr. Nanjo, his corpse was found behind the mansion. About half his head was destroyed. It's probably reasonable to assume that he was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. A demon stake has fallen near the body.
It's the same one again. But the witnesses at least realized that the stake wasn't what killed her. Servant Shannon. Both corpses had their heads smashed. And though they weren't stuck in, there were stakes lying right next to each damaged head. Each corpse was atrocious, but having to look directly at Shannon Chan's lovely face, which had been blown half away, was very painful. Then there was the well. I'd heard that inside was a secret underground passage to the mysterious mansion Kuwadorian. By this time, I'd begun to think that Beatrice and her accomplices might have used this underground passage, and left for Kuwadorian. Even though there had apparently been at least 10 of them, I hadn't seen a trace of anyone. It seemed very likely that they'd already escaped to a different location. Why didn't he follow them? There's the typhoon. They can't go out to sea. Goes the same for the forest. There's no way they could traverse such a deep, uncultivated forest on foot. In that case, they had only one place to go. The mysterious hidden mansion, Kuadorian. Through the secret underground passage at the bottom of the well. By this time, I'd entirely lost my fear of being killed if I happened to come across the enemy. Don't fuck with me. This time I'll storm into your mansion. What the hell? Damn it! The old well had a firm cover on it. The well was an iron grill. The gaps between the bars were perhaps 20 centimeters across. You could peer inside, but it really wasn't something a human could pass through. If I hadn't known better, I wouldn't have thought it was any more than a simple cover to prevent falls. From what Kyrie-san had told me, I knew that this purpose was to prevent intruders from entering the secret underground passage in its depths. But the cover was extremely firm and rigid, and no matter how much I pushed or pulled, I couldn't even get close to opening it. Couldn't find any obvious lock. It might be sealed by some mechanism, but no matter how much I investigated it, I couldn't find anything to release it. The biggest piece of information Kyrie-san had tried to give me, gambling her final moments, was the underground passage in this well. I don't think I'll be stopped by something like this cover. I'll smash it to bits. I'll search for a tool. I had an idea. After all, I'd seen the various tools in the gardening shed when we locked Goda-san and Kumasawa-san in there. The shutter of the gardening shed was locked. On top of that, the key was with Goda-san, who was dead on the inside. In other words, this gardening shed was a closed room. There's no way to open it from the outside. In that case, I gotta break the shutter. There has to be a tool for that somewhere. And it feels like I'm going in circles here. In magic circles.
No.
Then while searching for that, I learned that the source of the stench that had permeated the mansion this whole time was the underground boiler room. The boiler room was dimly lit, humid, smelled horrible, and on top of that it was incredibly creepy. There were several large tools there, and I managed to find a fire hatchet and some massive wire cutters. And Grandfather's corpse.
There it is.
System.
Roasted deliciously. To perfection.
Shiromir Kinzo. His body was found as a burnt corpse in the underground boiler room's incinerator. No evidence of a struggle was found inside the incinerator, so it's probably reasonable to assume that he was burned after his murder. Dust to dust, ashes to ashes. The dead to the dead.
Now, strictly speaking, I should probably say that I found a burnt corpse of a person who was probably Grandfather. Someone's corpse had been stuffed into the blazing fires of the boiler. However, by coincidence, I was able to notice the number of toes on the corpse. Both feet had 6 toes. That's right, I think I heard it from Dad sometime long ago. Something about Grandfather having polydactyly with extra toes. According to old Ashuramiya family tradition, it seems that those with extra fingers or toes had some kind of good fortune and were treated as a good omen. Because of that, Grandfather was selected to be the successor or something. I wonder if I can be certain that this is Grandfather's body just from the number of toes. After all, Grandfather was supposed to be the leader of the group of culprits. I didn't have a clue why he'd get stuffed in a boiler in a place like this and die. A mysterious corpse burning and spitting out a terrible stench amid the flames. If it really was Grandfather, did that mean that the leader of the group of culprits wasn't Grandfather but that Beatrice after all? Grandfather was used because he was convenient and then thrown away? Fortunately, it didn't look like he'd been given a chance to hear Grandfather's side of the story. Now that I'd obtained a tool, I thought about rushing to take on the cover to the well, but I decided to break the shutter to the gardening shed first. I had plenty of time to kill anyway. I figured I should check on the condition of Goda-san and Kumasawa-san's corpses. I hit the shutter with the hatchet, breaking into it. Stuck the wire cutter into the crack and scissored it around, opening up a hole. Then I faced Goda-san and Kumasawa-san's corpses once more.
Oh.
Man, we're just getting a rush of them.
Reverend Goda, his corpse was found in the Rose Garden storehouse. It's assumed that he was hung by the neck after being shot in the forehead. They put ropes around their own necks. That can be a pretty interesting experience now and then. And then, similar thing. As long as I could construct a closed room murder, nothing else mattered.
Interesting that their faces seem to be obscured somehow.
Yeah.
As a result, I learned a new fact. First, they had not died by being hung by the neck. Both of their feet were solidly on the floor. And on both of their foreheads were signs they'd been shot with a gun. The loop seemed longer than a normal noose. On top of that, the length was different on each to match the height of each person. In other words, their lengths had been adjusted so that both Goda-san, who was tall, and Kumasawa-san, who was short, had their feet solidly but barely on the ground. Also, while the ropes carried both of their weights as their heads lolled, both of them had some slack below the knees. This meant that if they'd stood up with those loops around their necks, they would have been some extra length. In other words, these loops wouldn't have been great for hanging people. The direct cause of death was probably a shot to the head. It was gruesome. Their insides were still dripping out from those gaping holes, staining their faces a deep red. It's probably best to assume that they were hung, pulled up, and then left exposed like that. If they'd been shot with a gun, they'd probably been lying down on the floor. If that had been the case, you wouldn't have been able to tell that they were dead even if you peeked through the window. The mountain of stuff would have gotten in the way, and so if they'd been lying down, they would have been hidden. So to make the deaths of these two known to the rest of us who couldn't go inside, they would have had to hang them like this, making it visible from the outside. Was this done to get back at us for thinking the two would be safe if we left the key with them? Theory time.
Yeah.
They were told to play dead, and then they're like, okay, cool, we'll just put these fake nooses around our necks, and then we're shot.
Damn, that's cold.
Because, in case you'd missed it, my theory for this one is that this is all a ruse.
Giant ruse.
In the beginning. And then devolved to actual murder.
Cool, I like it.
I wonder where the shutter key we gave Goda-san, which should have ensured their safety, is now. The key was in the pocket of his trousers. The gardening shed key had been kindly left there, and even the plate was attached. In other words, the gardening shed had been a closed room after all. And that gave rise to another question. Because this can't be explained by a hanging. If they didn't commit suicide, those nooses were set up by the culprit. Might have been possible to shoot them through the window, but it's really unthinkable that someone could have tied two loops to the beam from the outside. And furthermore, there's no way they could have lifted up the heavy corpses. In other words, to do all of this, they would have had to go inside. But the key was in Goda-san's pocket, and the shutter had been locked. In other words, the gardening shed had been a closed room. Goda-san had said that there was only one key to this shutter. But is it possible there was a copy and that the culprit was in possession of it? We're allowed to theorize that there actually was a duplicate of the gardening storehouse key and that Goda-san just didn't know about it, then this isn't even close to a closed room. But why is that? Despite the fact almost all of the other corpses were shot to death and left almost completely alone, just these two corpses were intentionally hoisted up. Never mind the stakes and the other corpses that had them.
Yeah, whatever.
I couldn't help but feel something a bit odd about that. After this, if we assume that the mystery corpse in the boiler was grandfather's, the deaths of 16 people have been confirmed. There are 18 people on this island. I'm here, and there are 16 corpses. Cannon-kun's corpse is the only one I haven't been able to confirm. According to Kyrie-san, he'd been killed while climbing out of the well and had fallen down into it. So with the well closed up like this, it's impossible to check. I tried shining a flashlight through the bars down into the darkness in the depth of the well, but it seemed that the jet black darkness had no intention of showing me its depths with the light of that level. Looked like I'd have to break the bars after all. Using the hatchets and things I dragged from the boiler room and the gardening shed, I tried breaking the cover of the well. But the metal bars were extraordinarily sturdy and breaking them wasn't easy. I hit them with the hatchet over and over until my hands started feeling weird and eventually gave up on breaking them. It's impossible. If they're at least wood, I might have been able to break them. This metal. That's right, there's no way you can just slice through metal bars like butter with a human's strength. I can't even begin to understand that story about how Cannon couldn't cut through metal bars. Heard that a light like a red laser beam grew out of his arm, that he sliced through the metal bars like he was cutting through butter. Cutting through metal bars like butter. What's with the red laser beam? Does that mean he secretly had a burner on him or something? He used that to burn through the bars? So just what kind of laser could cut through metal bars like butter? It almost sounds like the kind of laser beam you'd find in those robot animes I loved as a kid, doesn't it? Something like that really exist? How did Cannon-kun get that laser beam? No matter how much I wanted to ask him, he's already been killed. Plus, even if his corpse is now in the depths of the well beyond this cover. If Cannon-kun could slice through metal bars, I'm sure he could handle this metal cover in a single swing. This feels like the closed room Goda-san was locked in while holding the key. Only one person can open the door, but they're locked inside. If only I had the power of Cannon-kun's, I'd be able to do something about this cover myself. Just who is Cannon-kun? He couldn't really be a non-human being capable of using a strange power, right? Kyrie-san told me to believe in wishes, and I even met an insane woman calling herself one. Could Cannon-kun possibly be a human on the witch's side? Or else, the culprit? What the heck? You gonna start treating him like the culprit just because I can't find his corpse? Yes. Yes, you are. Keep up the good work.
Oh, treating him like the culprit because there's no corpse. And who was the one babbling about the suspicious being innocent? Very well, I couldn't bear having you push all of the crimes on Cannon and building a human culprit theory that way. I'll guarantee it with the red. Cannon is dead.
Beautiful. Just what we needed.
Yeah, everyone's dead but Battler.
Servant Cannon. Battler was not able to find his corpse. No matter how he's killed with magic, without a corpse, he's a definite suspect. Now that's definitely anti-fantasy. Therefore, I guarantee his death with the red truth. Now that's definitely anti-mystery.
It's been a while since we brought up anti-fantasy versus anti-mystery.
I plan on bringing them up once we finish this game.
I agree.
I have an article that I want to show you. Should be good.
Among the 5 people in Kira's group, he was the first to die. In short, he was the 9th victim.
That's nice. Since there's no corpse, I can't say for sure that Cannon is dead.
So my whispering in red does not reach the PCU. But it did reach you, right?
Thanks, Beatrice.
You're welcome. I aim to please.
At a glance, this was a mass murder due to something strange that could only be thought of as magic. Golden threads that attacked through keyholes. And we even have testimony that something gold flew around the dining hall when the first 6 died. The 2 might have been the same weapon. It was a closed room murder of the garden shed and the laser beam that could cut metal bars. And then that wasn't all. It was much, much more, like the group of goat monsters, the story of a witch who could create pitfalls just by snapping her fingers, the rabbit-like demons who'd fired golden threads. I think there was more, but each part was all screwed up. I couldn't possibly accept it and was forced to suspect that it was like some kind of trick or mistake. Why in the world had everyone spoken with one voice, saying the same thing without contradictions in their testimony? It's not only the magic. It's Maria's mysterious death. Why Jessica knew that George and Iki had been killed. The mysterious burned corpse that I couldn't confirm really belonged to that damn geezer. And more and more. All stuff I don't get. I tilted the wine bottle up and gulped. I don't have a clue what's going on. After dinner last night, the kids were chased out and told to go back to the guest house. And then there was a massacre in the dining hall. Kyrie-san and the rest were dropped through pitfalls and captured. Then Jessica and George and Iki were called out to take a test or whatever and killed. Even though Kyrie-san's group was able to escape the dungeon somehow, all of them got killed in the end. And at the very, very end, even Maria was killed, leaving me all alone. In short, I did nothing except stay locked up in the guest house. During that time, a huge incident occurred and ended. What can I call it except incomprehensible? I don't have a clue anymore. Now I'm nothing but a drunk. Plan on leaving only me alive? Show yourself right away and come to kill me already. It's too much of a pain, so I won't search for you. Show me your true form yourself. I won't run or hide, so come at me with arrows or bullets or whatever. I haven't gotten any sleep since yesterday, so I'm incredibly sleepy. If you want to kill me, go ahead. I decided to return to the guest house and boldly rest in a bed. When I exited the kitchen and passed through the lobby, the portrait of the witch came into view. The big clock did too. It's almost exactly midnight. Then the sound of the bell rang out, proclaiming that midnight had arrived. As I listened, I looked up at Beatrice's portrait. Exactly 24 hours ago, I met you. What were you trying to say? And where did you go? Just who in the world are you? Golden Witch, Beatrice. Haven't solved a single one of these riddles surrounding you. Show yourself, and fight me. Then the witch showed herself. Like a guest of honor finally appearing, she showed herself on the landing at the very top of the big staircase. So you finally show yourself. Been kept bored for a whole day.
Correct. I gave you a whole day. Was that enough for you to fully exercise the rights of the human side?
Yeah, I was bored after all. Did a heck of a lot of it.
Angie was a good piece.
Don't you speak Angie's name?
She appeared through a miracle, sacrificed herself, and gave you the tenacity required for certain victory.
Don't you speak Angie's name.
That brutal death was something you needed. If you hadn't seen that death, you wouldn't have grown serious. Without the wake-up call of Angie's ill-fated future, your tenacity for victory would not have been born.
I told you not to speak Angie's name.
In short, she was a necessary sacrifice. Otherwise, an anger great enough to kill me would not have been born in you. The rivalry between us cannot be destroyed. Damn you, Lady Van Castle. It's more fitting to call that a trump card than a piece. No matter how much a piece acts, it does not stray from the board. But no matter how much power trump card wields, it is always thrown away after it is used. Angie was truly a good trump card for you.
I'm sorry, I double tapped. Don't you speak Angie's name.
At Battler's angry roar, Beato finally stopped talking.
You know, I don't have to play around in a place like this anymore. Even a tie will keep Angie waiting. So I'll break through you, take my family, and go back home. I won't waste a second playing witch games with you.
In that case, what should you do? You know, don't you?
Yeah, I'll beat you down. I'll blast away all witches' magic illusions and delusions. Come on, let's get started. I won't let you trick me again. Resume the game, okay? I'll tear apart the witch's veil, concealing the outright lie you are.
You talk too much. All you have to do is honestly say, I'll kill you.
Yeah. If those are the words you want, I'll say them. This is the first and last wish of yours that I'll lend an ear to.
I thank you.
I'll...
There it is.
There it is.
I'll kill you. Very well, let us begin, Battler. Yes, the time for the witch hunt has come. Try and chase me, try and corner me, try and kill me. I expect a lot from you. Try and show me that your little sister gave you in her last moments.
Bring it on!
Oh! Battler's cry burned the world with a white light.
Did it, Ben?
Yeah.
Was it Battler's cry that burned the world?
I don't know, dog. White light, dog. And if you opened your eyes amidst the darkness, the two of them could be seen in a rose garden. We're in the Golden Land, dog. This is it. Who shall make the first move? Dream and Discharger!
Me.
Oh! Oh! I'm excited. How bold.
Nearly fucking unplugged the sound card.
Nah, it's fine. In the rose garden, beautiful rose petals danced. The color of those rose petals was red. Did the fact that they faced each other in this beautiful rose garden prove or make claim to a red, single truth? That must be why there is a red. In the language of flowers, roses represent passion, not truth. A flower for truth is a forget-me-not, and that flower is blue.
I'll bore through everything with my blue truth. From the very beginning of everything. I'll start from the very first game.
Very well. Let's see what you've got. Come.
Here I go. I've already proclaimed it, but I'll say it again. This isn't just for the murder of Dr. Nanjo in the last game. This'll tear apart every scene from every game since the beginning.
I hope you're ready for this.
Ashiramiya Kinzo is already dead, so the true number of people on the island is 17, by adding in an unknown person X that makes 18 people. By supposing the existence of this person X, the crime is possible even if all 17 people have alibis. By this, even though the number of people reaches 18, it's still possible for culprit X to exist and carry out crimes even if all 18 people seem to have alibis.
So wordy.
You can break through all of the murders in episode 1 by supposing an unknown person X. Furthermore, it's even possible to explain the mystery of Kinzo's evaporation for the closed room sealed by the receipt, by making the bold assumption that Kinzo wasn't there in the first place. Unless Beato counters this with the red truth, the illusion of the witch from episode 1 has been completely smashed. This blue truth is valid.
The wedges of blue truth that Battler had thrown stabbed right through the top of Beato's left foot. Was the red blood pouring out from there? A protest being made by her red truth? Beato shut one of her eyes tight, enduring the unbearable pain of the blue truth that denied her. Not bad. But I mustn't be denied yet. I mustn't be killed yet. This is not yet enough. In the subsequent games, there were mysteries that couldn't be explained with that alone, right?
Which mysteries?
In the final stages of the second game, George took Goda and Shannon with him, barricaded them in Natsu's room, and was killed. The key that unlocked Natsu's room was locked up inside the room, and all the remaining keys that could unlock that door were in Rose's hand. Even if a culprit X existed, it should have been impossible to construct that closed room. The blue wedge that pierced Beato shook. She was resisting, fighting to pull it out.
So we have just had relatively confirmed that they're expecting the same culprit through all of the episodes.
Yep.
No, that doesn't shake my blue truth. Culprit X were to obtain a master key, it's not even close to a closed room.
No, it was impossible for the culprit to obtain one. All of the master keys were under Rosa's control.
That's meaningless if Aunt Rosa was the culprit. Aunt Rosa handed a key over to Culprit X by some method assisting in the closed room murder. And after that, she retrieved the key by a similar method. Too naive, Beto. I'd already guessed that much at the time. Except it's wrong. Sorry to break it to you.
Yes, you did, didn't you? Ah! The wedge that had been gradually losing its sparkle, and it seemed as though it was about to be pulled out, regained its strong blue again thanks to Battler's additional blue truth, and dug into Beto again, eating into her foot. Beto let out a cry of anguish at that pain. Not yet. This is still nothing. Not yet. Not yet!
On to the third game. The 6 enclosed rooms were the murders of Aunt Rosa Maria, Dad and the rest of deaths in the hole, murders of Uncle Kraus and Aunt Natsui. All of that can be explained if we suppose that Aunt Ava was the culprit. This argument was already won back then, and even that final riddle you proposed through Ava, the murder of Dr. Nanjo, can be explained with an 18th unknown person X. That breaks through the whole third game. Can you counter that?
Of course. This much is nothing to worry about. In that case, how do you explain George's disappearance from the guest house? I shall add to the red truth. George did not go down the stairs of the guest house. He flew out through the window.
In the final stages of the third game, George suddenly vanished from the second floor of the guest house. Ava, who had been on the first floor, claimed that no one had come downstairs, but because of the blue truth, George could have snuck down to the first floor and escaped while Ava was busy carrying Kraus and Natsui's corpses outside. But by adding an additional red truth, Beto had denied that possibility. To go outside without going down the stairs to the first floor, he would have had to leave by the window. But of all the windows that had been locked from the inside, so what? It's just like you said. He flew out of the window, right? There was a lawn, so he couldn't tell if he jumped down, and it was raining so hard any light traces would have disappeared.
I'll use the red truth again. All windows and doors leading to the outside were locked from the inside. Furthermore, it is impossible to lock any of those from the outside. George had no technique by which to lock them.
I'll use more of the blue. I said it myself at the time. In that case, everything works out as long as someone locked the window after George and Nikki escaped through. Nothing difficult about that.
Here it is. Can I not escape after something like this?
Beto couldn't remove the blue edge that was buried into her foot. The fake witch was burned more and more by that forceful blue.
I think that's narration.
I don't know, it said Beto. Still nothing that shakes my blue truth in any one of the first 3 games. In that case, the only game that can prove you're a witch is this game, the 4th game.
Since I haven't countered you with the red, that is so. I shall have to prove witches using only this game. Very well. Give me everything you've got.
There's nothing strange about the murder of the 6 people in the dining hall. The 18th person X went wild with a gun and killed everyone. As for the pitfalls, there's a chance the pitfalls were truly hidden there. And it's possible to explain it using Kyrie-san's theory, supposing the poison dart shooting device X, which could knock a person out instantly, exists. The murders of George and Nikki, Jessica, and those who escaped from the dungeon can also be explained with guns, just like the dining hall. There's nothing strange about it. I'm sure you've got a counterattack, right? Bring it on.
Your greatest sword. This 18th person X is based on the theory that Kinzo is already dead. I knew you would make that claim. That's why I took Kinzo out of his study. All members of the family conference welcome that Kinzo, right? All of those who met at the family conference acknowledge the presence of Kinzo. In red.
You know what it is?
Yeah?
She's using Kinzo as another word for the head of the family.
You think so?
I think that's an easy cop-out.
No. That's a theory.
She didn't just say that Kinzo's alive. That would have been the easiest move to make.
It's true.
To literally fuck his entire theory.
It's true. She didn't. They acknowledge the presence of Kinzo.
That's right. But grandfather was seriously ill, bedridden on the verge of life and death, right? He was so worn out that he looked like a different person. Maybe no one would have cared, right? I'll counter with this. The grandfather was a different person, a body double. A different person the relatives mistook for grandfather. Oh god,
Then I'll counter with this. No person would mistake Yoshimiya Kinzo by sight. No matter what disguise might be used, they would not mistake Yoshimiya Kinzo by sight.
Does that also, by extrapolation, confirm that it is Kinzo's corpse in the games we've seen him burned?
It's a great question. I would say so.
I'll use this. The second game, when you announced with the Red Truth there were 5 Master Keys, even though there could have been more than 5 in the first game, you changed the premise of the later games. So it's possible that Kinzo's life or death status was changed for the 4th game alone. Therefore, Kinzo's presence in the 4th game doesn't serve as a proof that he was present in the previous games. Therefore, even if we suppose that the 6 murders in the dining hall were carried out by Grandfather, it contradicts nothing.
Then let me counter this way. Kinzo's life or death status is the same at the start of all 4 games. There it is!
Dead.
The setup was no different for the 4th game alone.
Repeat it. Kinzo was alive at the start time of every game.
At the start of time, yeah. I refuse to repeat it. I won't answer, Battler. I won't give you the red you so desire.
Damn, you're standing in my way, geezer. Putting yourself on the line to protect Beatrice, this most beloved witch of yours?
Whoa!
Swaying, that damn geezer came into view. Is he trying to be some kind of knight blocking his path between me and Beato?
Battler, are you capable of surpassing me? I won't let you reach. I will not let you reach. Not to the Golden Witch's height, you see. Your thoughtless reasoning cannot surpass even me alone. Die.
Kinzo's jet black robe spread as though it would swallow the world, becoming the snout of a vast black dragon.
They came at me, trying to swallow me in one gulp. Faced with that black dragon's roar, I calmed my breathing and closed my eyes lightly.
I'll swallow you up in a single gulp. Disappear, inexperienced fool!
Quiet, you damn undying ghost.
Oh, so you call me a ghost. So you intend to see it through to the end, this theory that I am already dead. That'll prove fatal to you. Be swallowed up by the first twilight of the 4th game and disappear.
The black dragon's vast mouth, its snout, its fangs
Swallowed Battler whole. You know what? In that instant, Battler suddenly opened his eyes.
Thanks, Beatrice. Your 3rd game became a foothold for my counterattack.
What?
See you, damn geezer. This is a goodbye. As a basis for claiming that Kinzo was dead, even in the 4th game, I proposed the following theory.
Very well, come with all you have, my descendant.
Here I go, you damn geezer. My theory is that the name of Kinzo gets passed on as the title of the Ashurimiya family head. Fucking fight me then. Ashurimiya Kinzo was already dead and he passed that name on to someone else. Everyone acknowledged that. That way, all of those who met at the family conference acknowledged the presence of Kinzo. There wasn't even any need for someone to disguise themselves as grandfather, because everyone acknowledged and knew Kinzo, so they didn't actually mistake Kinzo by sight. As long as this theory is not denied, nothing can change the fact you're dead. This is the final blow. What is this like jumping around he's doing? Well, I'd love to
fighting through the rose garden.
I'd love to see a visual of this.
It's not good.
This is the final blow, damn geezer. I demand that you repeat it. Among all the people there, not one had multiple different names.
I cannot. God.
Rest in peace, damn geezer. Thank me. You're finally able to die. This is your new requiem. Take it and drop dead. Ashurimiya Kinzo was already dead. That's right, you definitely deserve to be pitied, since whenever we find your corpse, it's always completely burned, as a device to hide the fact that time had passed since your death. Then you passed that name on to someone else. With this theory, even though you were dead, Kinzo was able to appear at the family conference. How's that? This is checkmate! In blue.
Thank you.
I'd also like to say, just in case anyone's like, what? Why did he come to that conclusion early? It's because they said, literally last video, multiple people can have the same name.
Think so?
Yeah. That's why I came to that conclusion.
Several dozen blue stakes bored into Kinzo's ghost. Their terrible destructive power wouldn't let the ghost recover again.
Beatrice.
Get wrecked, Kinzo! You
Wrecked.
dragon boy! Kinzo. Oh, actually, shit.
No, definitely Beatrice.
Okay, Kinzo, thank you for everything. Rest in peace. I will not forget my time spent with you.
dispersing along with the shadow of the black dragon as golden flower petals scattered. Ushumi Akinzo became a gold-colored cyclone and disappeared. Even after death, he had fought for the sake of the woman he'd loved. There's no doubting that your love and madness were the real thing.
Love and madness are the real thing.
Battler.
Don't hate me. Let the dead sleep. Don't wake them. You're up next. This is the end for you too. Beto still couldn't pull out the blue wedge that pierced her foot. She realized that she was on the verge of death. Gone along with you a whole bunch. I think I've more than fulfilled any responsibility I had to play with you. It's about time to finish things up. Got a lonely little sister waiting at home. Let me take my leave with my whole family.
Then kill me. In that case, try and kill me. I won't run or hide, and by now I won't even be able to avoid it. Come on! Ushiramiya Battler! Thank you.
You got it. For the 18th person X from the Kinzo was dead theory, everything that remained has been pierced through. George, Aniki, and Jessica's deaths in the 4th game can also be explained by culprit X. And the 5 who escaped from the dungeon were killed, and the 2 in the gardening shed, and Maria in the end. All of those can be explained with 18th person X. There's nothing strange there at all. This I fully explained the culprit using humans for all games. Beatrice, this is checkmate. That was very loud.
Yep.
That was internally peaking, it was so loud.
It's great. Ah! Beatrice, who couldn't dodge, had several blue stakes driven into her and was skewered. Beatrice grabbed at them, trying to pull them out somehow. Ah, that got me. It hurts. This'll kill me, won't it?
I'm fully expecting a massive turnaround here.
If I don't pull these out, I'll die.
This music is all an elaborate ruse.
I've had enough of the pain. I've had enough of the anguish. With both hands, Beata firmly grasped one of the blue stakes. Naturally, the power of the witch-denying blue truth burned her hands. Unable even to hide her tears at the pain, Beata howled and tried to pull the stakes out with all her might. If I can't pull these out, I'll die. This is my final counterattack. Then, Battler, how do you explain my several acts of magic? The very first time those appeared was in the 2nd game when I fixed Maria's pumpkin marshmallow. At that time, Rosa definitely witnessed that magic. Certainly at that time, Rosa witnessed gold butterflies gathering in the fixing of a marshmallow by the miracle of magic. Rosa alone witnessing it is very credible, right? That's why I increased the number of witnesses to the uppermost limit later on. Which is what happened in this last game. The summoning of my minions and brutal murders due to magic. All of those were witnessed by a great many people. That is itself proof that my magic exists. How do you explain that, Ushiramiya Battler?
Stalemate.
What?
Magic exists because magic exists. Didn't the rules of our Brawn Tube say that you couldn't use that kind of argument?
Yes, you're right.
No matter who or how many people witness magic, that cannot become proof of magic's existence. Whether all the magic you've shown exists or not, I can ignore it all and explain things with humans. That's my undeniable right. Am I wrong?
With those words, the blue stakes let out an even brighter light.
No, because she's grabbing onto them.
Ah, of course. Knocking my hands away.
Don't you look at me!
Ah, my apologies. I'm so used to having Battler narrate.
It's alright, it was more to establish why the pause was there than actually accusing you of anything.
That's okay. Seems I can't pull them out after all. As Battler is now, even if I pull up a witness for each individual bit of magic and demand an explanation, he'll probably use some kind of move to deny all of them. Not just the magic with the marshmallow I showed Rosa, but all of the miracles of magic. So,
I can no longer even claim to be a witch without questioning him about something like how a marshmallow was fixed. I'm in such an inferior position that I must fight over such trivialities. It may be impossible for me. I know that. This was to be a game without victory from the very beginning. So it was only natural that the day of my defeat would eventually come. How I fought, up until today, just to lose to Battler. I began the game thinking I might be able to win. Even if I wouldn't be able to win easily, I believe that in a game repeating endlessly, a miracle would eventually occur. After all, I had certain willpower on my side and unwavering desire to win with certainty. However, I've now lost that miracle completely. And that certain willpower resides in Battler, leaving me certainly without even a 1 in a million chance at a miracle. Perhaps I should say I've been left without a miracle of certainty, or certainty. I will have no victory, and no end through a tie. The only resolution allowed me is to continue on resisting until defeat is given to me in this game.
A prediction for how she breaks it, she says there are no more than 17 people. That's my claim.
Sure.
Okay.
That's right, I am fighting only to be killed by Battler. I looked into Battler's eyes. That which was reflected inside them wasn't me. The figures of the little sister waiting for his return and the family he had to bring back were reflected in those eyes. To him, my existence is already not even that of an individual. Obviously. From the very beginning, he has been trying to deny the individual that I am. Yes, that last game sure was fun. I was only tricking him a bit, but for just a short period of time, it felt like we understood each other. And that was fun. That's right. I should have made my move then. I should have continued for eternity with Battler still totally fooled. But that's just no good, right? That just wouldn't be true victory.
Is this checkmate, Beatrice?
Beata had been run through with several blue stakes, skewered over and over to the ground while still standing. Because of that, she wasn't even able to fall over, and still looking up into the sky was sewn in place. That tragic form might have been a fitting end for the cruel witch who had endlessly toyed with 18 people's lives and who had killed constantly for hundreds and thousands of years.
Except only being made 6 years ago.
Gently, as though someone was mourning over something, rain began to fall. Amid that rain, Beata was soaked and crucified.
Is it over, Beto?
Can't even let out a squeak.
Not yet. You aren't a woman who'll let things end with just this.
Don't be ridiculous. How can you look at this and think that it isn't over? Quickly, deliver the final blow. Just say it with your blue truth. According to this, witches do not exist. Say it.
Oh, he's gonna say it in Stroke.
Just say it.
Please.
With that single blow, just put a stop to my breathing.
It's useless.
So you would expose me to even further shame? Isn't it settled already?
Stand up. Our brawl still isn't over.
Not over, you say?
That just now wasn't you losing. You just stopped and gave up.
Isn't that enough? Wouldn't giving up. In your victory, you should return to your little sister right away. Just throw me away. Right here.
Didn't I tell you? I won't run away. I won't let you run away. Just who are you? And what in the world is it that you want?
If you want to know, why don't you just try your favorite move? Isn't it better this way? With me as a mere delusion, an illusion, isn't that enough?
It's all useless. I won't let you run away. I'll break through you. How could I let you run away like this? I won't let you run back to the darkness of illusions while you're still all hazy like this. I'll break through you. Completely. So stand up. Don't act all frail like that. You're still hiding several moves. I can tell.
Why won't you just let me escape?
Dad, Mom, and Angie. All the cousins and all the relatives, and all the servants, you toyed with them so much and killed them. I definitely won't forget. Won't forgive that inhumanity. I can still feel Angie's arms on my shoulders. I won't forgive your inhumanity, so I won't let you get away like this.
Battler's eyes burned with the flames of hatred. Time had long since passed during which pitiful behavior would have earned his compassion. After being tricked once, Battler will never sympathize with me again. Instead of the wolves and sheep puzzle, this is like the boy who cried wolf, isn't it? What am I supposed to do? What should I do? Is fighting endlessly only to avoid admitting defeat a fitting endless torture for the Endless Witch? Is endlessly harassing Battler to avoid giving him victory also part of being the Endless Witch? It's so sad. Is this what the endless magic is? I've had enough. I've had enough of endlessly being toyed with by witches. I will have no victory and no tie. In that case, there's only one result that can release me. Since the time I succumbed to the path of witches, since the day I made that contract with demons, it was promised that I would meet my end through tragedy, was it not?
What's wrong, Golden Witch Beatrice? The ruler of Rekenjima showed me a majesty fitting for that. Even at the very end.
Lightning. The world was smashed with white. Fitting last moments for the ruler of Rekenjima. Still pierced by the blue stakes, Berta faced the rainy sky and let out a cry of laughter. Then she slowly raised her face and stared at Battler. Fool! Just when I was about to praise your good fight and hand him a victory, you shall regret that pride.
This isn't something for you to hand over. I'm gonna take it from you. Same goes for you, right? You can never accept an easygoing victory where I just said maybe witches existing isn't so bad. Isn't that the very reason you intentionally fell apart like that at the end last time? That's right, last game you took pity on me just once, didn't you? So now I'll pay back that debt. Stand, my enemy, Golden Witch Beatrice. Oh, my Golden Witch Beatrice. Oh.
Fool! You fool! You fool! You simpleton! You think you'll get another chance? When Berta yelled, the blue stakes that had pierced her chest flew to bits and disappeared. However, the blue wedge that had pierced her foot at the very beginning did not vanish.
Can't pull it out yet. Can't pull out the blue truth of the 18th person X.
I'll respond to one thing you told me to repeat. As you reasoned, Kinzo was already dead at the starting time for all games.
Oh, good.
However, this means that you can take one person out. Before now, I proclaimed that no more than 18 humans exist on this island. I will lower that by 1 for Kinzo. I don't know what you want me to say. No more than 17 humans exist on this island.
Too fucking easy.
Well reasoned. That excludes any 18th person. In short, this 18th person X does not exist. This applies to all games.
What do you know? Looks like you're still hiding some pretty crazy stuff up your sleeve after all. The island, which had no more than 17 humans on it, has been set up to appear as though there were 18. Taking one of them off makes 17, so we finally reached the correct number. This way the wedge I knocked into you has been removed. We'll have to start the fight over, back from square one.
Let's go. From the top, the blue wedge that had sewn Beato in place broke apart. There was no longer anything piercing her. Scars on her body had disappeared completely. There stood, just as Battler had hoped for, the figure of the majestic golden witch who ruled Rekenjima. And come, Battler. Once more, from the beginning. Try and break through everything with the blue truth. I too will no longer play, run, or hide. If you are worthless, then I shall end this match right here, right now. With my grand victory, I'll make you regret your refusal to compromise for all eternity. Come, starting from the first game.
Right, for the first twilight of the first game, there's nothing strange about the murder of 6 relatives that were found in the gardening shed at the very start. The crime was possible for any of those who didn't have an alibi.
Valid. Continue. What about the next closed room murder with Ava and Hideyoshi? Even the chain was set for that closed room. I shall add to the red truth. Both deaths were homicides. It is not the case that after the construction of the closed room, one of them committed suicide after committing murder.
We're getting red truths about the first game, Ben!
Good shit.
I'm so excited.
Alright, let's go. Furthermore, the murder was carried out with both the victim and the perpetrator in the same room. No method exists for the perpetrator to commit murder from outside the room.
Suppose the culprit was human without an alibi. In other words, the dead. We weren't able to identify some of the first 6 corpses because of their smashed faces. Maybe one was actually a disguised corpse and culprit X killed those 2 after making us think they were a victim and hiding away. Then after the closed room murder was constructed, the culprit hid under the bed and waited for us all to come and leave. No, you're wrong and you're dumb.
Very well. Next! Cannon was killed in the boiler room, correct? I shall add to the red truth. All the survivors have alibis. Let us include the dead as well. In short, no kind of human or dead person on the island could have killed Cannon.
If no one could kill him, then he might have been the one to kill. Cannon might have killed himself. Repeat it. Cannon did not commit suicide.
Cannon did not commit suicide.
One more. Repeat it. Cannon's death was a homicide.
I refuse to repeat it.
By that refusal, it may be possible to view it as a homicide, but you've already proclaimed in red that no one could kill him. In other words, it wasn't a homicide. This is the same as the linked closed rooms from the 3rd game. Cannon died for a reason that was neither suicide nor homicide. The details are unknown, but he died due to an accident. Because of the devil's proof, I refuse to explain what kind of blunder could have led to an accidental death where a stake was driven into his chest.
Oh, now that you have borrowed the power of demons, you are without fear. It is valid. In that case, what about the murders after that in the parlor of Genji, Naru, and Kumasawa? Naturally, Maria, who was in the same room, did not kill them. And of course, their 3 deaths were homicides.
We can explain those murders with culprit X who hid away using an unidentified corpse. After all, those 3 had their faces smashed. It's completely possible that one of them was a body double corpse.
I guarantee the identities of all unidentified corpses. Therefore, there were no body double tricks.
Then you can explain it with simultaneous murders. Each of them had a gun pointed at clockwise and blew each other's faces off. Fuck you.
Perfect.
After that, Maria collected those guns and fuck that.
Well, if it's so obviously wrong, why she'll counter it, right?
I hope so.
What? What a ridiculous argument! How amusing! Then what about Nazi in the end? I shall add to the red truth. Nazi's death was a homicide. There were no unidentified corpses, and all the survivors have alibis.
You can explain it with an indirect murder due to Trap X. Fuck, no. I hate traps. Something was done to Ainatsui's gun. It could have been a trap gun built to send a bullet right into the forehead of anyone who tried to hold it up and shoot it.
The bullet buried into Natsu's forehead was not fired from her gun.
It's possible that Natsui was lured out by that letter whose contents were unknown. She was called out into the hall, then she was forced to stand at a specified location at a specified time and murdered by Trap X, which used a gun that had been installed there beforehand.
See, traps are easy.
Wonderful! I hate traps.
What a great explanation traps are.
I hate
Wonderful. These reckless arguments of yours are even starting to feel pleasurable
Have
now.
I already made my opinion on traps on video?
I'm sure it's obvious. We can talk about it later.
Okay.
Let's keep going. Out of respect, I shall hand the first game over to you. Well done!
Man, they have really played that sound too loud.
Gah! She's been hurt by the sound. The instant Beato acknowledged her defeat in the first game, the stakes of the Blue Truth once again pierced her chest, letting out a terrible sound. Gah! This is still hardly painful and it's not over yet. Come, now for the second game! Beato just barely put out the stakes that had pierced her chest, but even though there was no hole left behind, she still seemed to be bearing a deep wound that was letting out a massive amount of blood, and she was tormented by an equally fierce pain. But Beato grinned, grinding her teeth, and push for the next game to start.
I won't feel sympathy for her. Just by her existing there, we've been killed and harassed over and over. And Angie's been burdened with a future of isolation.
Correct. Just by my being here and laughing, this eternal hell will continue. I won't give you your little sister back. Let her cry over the family that shall not return for the next 1,000 years.
Damn it! No compassion, no mercy. Okay, on to the second game. I'll start with the first crime. Right after it happened, I penetrated to the truth of the closed room murder where the 6 were killed in the chapel. Someone secretly borrowed Maria's key and returned it to Maria's bag after the crime was over.
From the time Maria received her key to the instant Rosa unsealed the envelope the next day, the key passed through no one's hands. I believe that causes some problems for your theory.
I believe it does.
That's alright, we can go over it.
I don't... it debunks my theory. I don't think it changes the who, when, how, what, why.
We know that
Changes the how.
this key has not been touched by anyone since the night before, and yet
Well,
there were people
okay,
in the locked chapel.
The easy... Was it ever declared in red that the chapel was locked before they found it in the morning?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Because if it's not, then the door was just unlocked the whole fucking time.
It was a lie?
Yes.
Alright, cool. Let's keep going.
The door might have had an auto lock, just like Graham's study. In other words, it was unlocked before the crime with a rock or something wedged so that it couldn't close completely. Then someone gave the key to Maria. The lock was automatic, so it's possible to make a theory where the key wasn't needed.
There were no doors with auto locks other than Kinzo's study.
Note, she does not say anything about it being left open. Which was part of Battler's claim.
It's true.
The victims locked the door from the inside. One of the 6 was the culprit and this person killed the other 5, then pretended to be dead.
The 6 were already dead by the time they were discovered. All of their deaths were homicides. All 6 were genuine victims and did not take part in a mutual murder. There was no simultaneous murder.
There were people, Kumasawa-san in particular, who had no alibi at the time. If we assume that someone was hiding on the inside, then we got no problems.
There was no one hiding in the chapel. Therefore, the shut-in murder you suggest does not work. What's wrong? Is that all, Ushumi, Battler? It's not so easy once you get to the second game, right?
There's a thundering exchange of red and blue truth.
Oh, fuck.
Stakes and wedges of blue truth that I sent flying attacked one after another, and Beto cut them down one after another with her red truth, her red treasured sword knocking them down. But the blood she lost from the first game was probably serious. This intense exercise was putting an even greater strain on her. I could also see her breath grow ragged. That's why I can't hold back now. I'll corner that witch. This time I'll break through her. Not yet. It's all useless. It's all useless. My twisted logic isn't finished yet. And what about this?
Here we go.
The food they were given had small bomb.
Now this is the best theory. Small bombs! Throw up some small bomb memes. Just cover the screen in them right now. Small bomb memes. Get them up there. It's a thing. I'll show you.
I'm glad it's a thing.
I'll show you.
Because this is deserving. This is
one of the
deserving
best.
of being
It's
trashed.
Look, I'm just gonna say right
awful.
now. It isn't small bombs. I'm okay with saying that right now.
Of course it's
Battler,
not
what the
small
fuck?
bombs. It's fucking stupid. I'm not even gonna give that the dignity of reading it. In other words, the crime was possible through Trap X.
Traps.
The exact nature of without noticing, which could also blow up and
They ate bombs.
Devil's Proof.
It makes sense.
I refuse to explain.
What the hell's that? Small bombs.
Beto failed to knock down the blue edges that flew at an angle like a breaking pitch.
Ow.
Let out a thunk and gouged itself deep into her left shoulder. However, even as the breaking pitch hit her, her laugh didn't seem to be stopping. Yeah, I get it. Even I think that theory's pretty screwed up. Laugh as much as you want. Got a problem with that?
None. Quite a pleasurable, reckless argument. Next up is the closed room with Jessica and Cannon.
No problems there. If the culprit was one of the servants, they could have used the master key. Not even a closed room.
After that, there was an attack in the servant room from a mystery person who seemed to be Cannon, and Nanju and Kumasar were killed, right? I had already proclaimed Cannon's death in red before that time, so who was that Cannon?
Kanankun's death was proclaimed with the red. There's no way he was alive. Therefore, there's a chance that one who attacked the group was in disguise that made everyone mistakenly think it was Kanankun.
They would never mistakenly think that any other person was Cannon. There you go, look at that fucking clue.
And just like the heredity of Kinzo's name, there's a possibility that Kanon's name was inherited by someone. You could suppose that Kanankun was killed, a different person succeeded that name, and this person attacked them. I mean, that kind of works with my theory. It's just very peculiarly worded.
Yeah.
Sound like a watermelon being squashed rang out, and the blue wedge was buried deep into Beato's left flank. Maybe it hit in a bad place since it seemed to be really effective. After leaning over and moaning for a while, she laughed it off as though she was trying to make it seem like no big deal. Yeah, I get it. This must have hurt a lot.
Oh. Yeah! Once again, you set up some humorous culprit as if it were nothing. You truly are gabbing on about things you'll never be able to open your mouth and say on the game board. Woo-hoo. And yet it's valid. That reckless argument is pleasurable. Truly pleasurable. This isn't pain, it's pleasure. Oh.
Beato howled that wedge that had pierced her was blasted away. But the wound remained and she continued to be tormented by a fierce pain. You ready? I'll keep going. My blue truth for the last murder in the second game, the 3 who died in Natsui's room, should still be valid even with the 18th person X denied. Do you have a counter argument for that in red? If you don't, the second game is all mine too.
No, I don't. Fighting over such trivial matters bores me. I'll give it to you. I'll give you the second game.
I really want to know what the play, the 17 people play was easy. I don't know what she's doing right now.
I don't know either. What is the play?
Instant she acknowledged her loss in the second game, 2 blue stakes gouged through Beato's chest this time, which his lungs were gouged as were her intestines. Her face twisted in anguish, her body twisted as she gasped in pain. Does it hurt?
Hurts? No, this just tickles. At least compared to having your entire body torn to bits and turned into a pound scrap meat like your sister. I'll make you scrap meat too. The new siblings can be all mixed together like ground beef and pork.
I'll beat you to death. I'll tear you to bits the same way. Next, the third game. How long are you gonna sit around all worn out like that? I've only just started knocking you down to hell.
Naturally, as if something like that could wear me down.
I don't understand why Battler
right.
needs to prove the third game, because Beatrice already denied it all in red herself, even though Battler couldn't hear it.
Oh no, we didn't hear it. Can you trust it?
You can't trust it, but I still think it's valid enough. I mean, I'm still taking a human culprit theory anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter. But I'm just interested why they're still playing it.
You're right. We're still just getting started. Come, let us begin the third game, starting with the 6 linked closed rooms. You supposedly did penetrate this closed room at the time, but then you killed off Kinzo!
At the time, I theorized Gramps was the culprit, and that after killing one of the 5, stringing the keys across each room, he'd constructed his own closed room in the boiler room. And there, he died in an accident while carrying out some kind of scheme, burning to death in the boiler. But now I've declared that Gramps was already dead, so I've denied my own theory myself, ironically enough. However, there's no problem. Plenty of people besides Gramps could have committed that crime. You could even claim that all the adults holding family conference were in on it.
All 5 master keys were discovered, each in the pocket of one of the servants. The individual room keys were found inside envelopes alongside the corpses. In short, all keys related to the linked closed rooms were locked inside the linked closed rooms. No key could have been returned from outside the room using the crack of the door, the crack of the window vents, or any place of the sort.
Then they were killed with poison. Fuck.
Yeah.
Even if a key could pass through, a gas could, right?
An excellent argument.
Murder was carried out from outside the closed room.
All of them had what appeared to be gunshot wounds that were fatal. Murdering them from outside the room would have been impossible. I shall say more with the red. When 5 other than Kinzo were killed, the killer was definitely in the same room as them. I already proclaimed in red at the time that they were not suicides.
After the murder of each person in their respective rooms, the culprit created a linked closed room. But the culprit had no way to return just the key to the very last room, and yet they were able to do it. After all, the first person to discover a corpse just had to pretend to find the key and pull it from the pocket of one of the corpses.
That's clever.
Look, it's fucking peeking red over here on the
Yo,
meter. It's too loud.
red of blood.
Learn how to script your games. Holy shit.
It's perfect.
She couldn't fully block the retort of that blue stake. Beta was pushed back by the wedges that were unleashing one after another and failed to block one and once again took a severe wound. She howled in pain. She pulled out the blue wedge that had pierced in her right arm. Beto's entire body had been torn apart and pierced with blue wedges and blades over and over again. Now she was totally covered in blood. But even so, Beto grinned, cackling as though this was amusing.
How good a man who promised to bring Angie's parents home voiced a theory where those parents are the culprits. Splendid. Even that's just fine, right? Go be a big happy family getting their hands dirty with mass murder, then return to Angie saying with blood that will never come out. How could we expect anything less from the people who return alive from the Witch's Island? Just what that means to mean Angie needs. Yeah!
Ah, shut up. I'll kill you. I'll tear you apart. No need to waste your time begging for your life. I'll definitely give you the worst kind of death by my own hands.
Yes, you probably could do it. I've explored the depths of cruelty for over 1,000 years, and you probably will gift me with a fitting end for all that. Oh, does that hurt? Is it harsh? Or does it tickle? Is it supposed to torment me? Come on! Show me a Battler. There are still mysteries left!
They'd already countered my first powerful move with the 18th person X by making the numbers of people on the island 17. But just limiting the number of people to 17 didn't overturn the theory that Aunt Ava was the culprit. I can crush most of the murders in the third game this way. Blood dripped from all over the body of the Golden Witch. I cornered her this time thoroughly without mercy. This isn't a game played to decide who wins and who loses. Yeah, we aren't playing. Even the time I spend playing and fighting like this delays my trip home. In our isolation, Angie will continue to have her heart torn apart by loneliness and sadness. I have to go back to Angie as fast as I can. I don't understand why they're concerned about a time constraint when they're trapped in something that is supposedly eternal.
I don't know. It's a good question.
Doesn't make sense.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it?
You're all worn out. Standing at death's door, aren't you?
It still doesn't burden me. Something like this. It tickles.
Looks like you don't need any more mercy.
I never asked for it in the first place.
Yes, you did. I'm going all out.
Do so. When our roles were reversed, I showed no mercy, so you ought to do the same when given the chance. Otherwise, I'll summon another Isolate Angie from a different world, and this time I'll tear off her arms and legs, stick her with a spear and roast her, okay?
Shut up. Never again. Not my family, not my relatives, not any of the servants. I won't let you make them your playthings. Oh, I've already broken through all of the mysteries in the fourth game of the Blue Truth. The only one left is the very last one from the third game. Only the murder of Dr. Nanja.
Oh, have I already been cornered so far? What a precarious state I'm in.
She coughed violently, spitting up blood. Her insides had been punched through so many times. It was only natural. In other words, the mystery of Dr. Nandra's murder and the last line of defense for you being a witch, right?
As you say, if you defeat that, it will mean that all of my mysteries have been defeated. Unless I counter one of your truths with some new red truth or present a new mystery, I will die.
Doesn't look like someone who's been pushed into a corner standing on the brink. Still have some kind of hidden pitch up your sleeve, right?
Well, who knows? I have already tired of a too long life after 1,000 years. I started to think that having this life ended by a rival like you, whom I stumbled upon at the very end, might not be so bad. You can do it, can't you? Do it. I beg you, kill me. I'm always the one killing, and I've never had the experience of being killed. I've killed the 18 of you hundreds of times, but haven't been killed myself even once. So I wanted to experience it just once myself.
It was a graceless show of boldness unchanged from before. Blood dripped from her mouth. Her once beautiful dress was covered with holes, and blood poured from all over her body, making her physical appearance stand in sharp contrast to her attitude. Maybe the shot she'd taken to the flank was still tormenting her, since she was still pressing down on it unconsciously without a trace of grace. But I got no time for pity. As long as I feel sympathy for this witch and my family, and I won't be released from this place. Till I defeat her, we won't be able to go home. In the outside world, it may be possible for even enemies to understand each other when circumstances change. But pure evil does exist. Evil that brings misfortune just by existing. and is to be spared no compromise. Just by its continued existence alone, it's evil. I don't pity you. It's like how you don't show pity for any of us.
Well, of course. All of you are just pieces in the game. It's just unbelievably fun to think about which 6 to kill in the beginning, how to kill the next 2, and whether I can find a much more grotesque method of murder, you see? Hey, Battler, I've reformed a little, so forgive me this time too. If you do, I'll change my methods of killing you to something a little better, okay? I'll listen to how you want them to be killed, and in what order, got it? It's so fun toying with people's lives. I am sure you could think of a way to turn Angie to a pile of scrap meat much more thoroughly. Come, Battler, try to expose the truth of Nandra's murder.
18th person X has been defeated, but I won't give in. I'll stop that witch's breathing cold. At the end of the 3rd game, it was announced in red that the survivors at that point in time, Battler, Ava, and Jessica, and Nanja were all uninvolved with Nanja's murder. It was also proclaimed that he was murdered directly by someone before his eyes. All other people had the strongest possible alibi by having their deaths proclaimed in red. I'll break through this without using the 18th person X. Think, don't stop thinking. Red doesn't only bind me, it's also supposed to be her weak point. Let us somehow use it against her. That's right, there's still a gap. Yeah, this way I can break through it. This way Beatrice's Legend of the Witch is finished. True, the others probably were dead. However, their deaths were not proclaimed in red at the instant Dr. Nanjo died. Strictly speaking, it was in the fight between me and Ava after Dr. Nanjo's corpse was found. In other words, if someone was alive at the time Dr. Nanjo was killed and then died before Ava made that proclamation, you can sew right through that crack. In other words, it's like this. Someone who was first confirmed dead by Ava's proclamation was a culprit. They cleverly played dead earlier and waited for us to come and go. Before their deaths were announced in red, we were made to think they died. Then they killed Dr. Nanjo and later died for some reason. After that, Ava proclaimed their death in red. That theory can explain Dr. Nanjo's case. How's that, Beatrice?
Oh, shit.
That's a new image.
Yeah, that's different.
When he forcefully asked that oh, no.
Oh.
When he forcefully asked that question, there was a terrible sound that could only be likened to that of a compressor. And a blue stake that was as thick as a log appeared from under the earth and skewered the golden witch, Berta, pulling her up into the air. Ugly tearing sounds rang out, and each time a blue stake or wedge would appear and pierce Beatrice's body. When that finally ended, her tragic form was exposed there, pin-cushioned by more than 10 stakes and wedges all over her body and dripping with blood, dangling and crucified.
Man, you remember the last time we had this imagery?
Crucifixion?
Beardo fucking skewered through.
Yeah.
Remember what happened?
Yeah.
The opponent got wrecked.
It's true. They did.
Battler's fucked.
You think so? There was none of the dignity of the brutal witch who had sneered at the honor of the dead and toyed with and killed hundreds of the living. The rain, which had started falling at some point, quietly tormented the crucified witch. As Battler heaved with his breathing, he waited for some kind of answer from the Golden Witch. Although it wasn't long, it took the witch a bit of time to show any signs of life. It hurts. It hurts.
You got what you deserved. Now you can experience a portion of the pain felt by all those you've killed.
Even as he said that, it seemed Battler had lost a little of his momentum at this extremely pathetic sight. Even if it was an enemy, he couldn't look straight at a woman exposed in such a brutal fashion. But even so, unless he destroyed Beatrice, this battle wouldn't end. Battler, I beg you.
Beardo let out a sob.
It hurts. It really hurts. End it. End it. Even with this, I still can't die. Even though it hurts so much, I still can't die.
What are you asking of me?
End it. Release me from this pain.
Beardo's expression was soaked with blood and tears.
Battler certainly had been tricked by her at one point, so he was probably able to suspect that her expression, that even her tears were an act. However, Battler believed in those tears. After all, those tears had the red of truth mixed in with them.
What should I do? What can I do to end your pain?
I will now expose everything. This is my heart.
Your heart?
Kill me.
Pero.
Kill me. Just let me die.
Those tears from pain and torment, or else... Either way, that pathetic expression was painful.
For Battler to look at, even after burning with such anger. Weakly, go back to Angie.
I'll listen to your request, not so that I can go back, but to end your pain.
Thank you, Battler.
In her last breaths, Beato summoned up all of her remaining strength and managed to close both of her hands into fists. A red light began to gather at those fists, and she lifted her arms as though appealing to the heavens for something.
You'll be able to kill me. All of me. My heart. Crush it. Pierce it. Okay?
The red light around both her arms gradually began to strengthen.
Please.
For saying that much, her face tilted to the side a bit, and then her right arm lost its light and flopped down. Her left arm alone did not lose its light and remained held out towards the heavens.
Then, before Battler's eyes, another Beato appeared with a faint form, transparent like a curtain. The crucified Beato had already lost consciousness. However, the newly appeared faint Beato
Looked at me, her eyes expressionless, and spoke.
Assure me, Battler, I will now kill you.
And?
And right now, there is no one other than you on this island. The only one alive on this island is you. Nothing outside the island could interfere.
I understand. This is the last mystery Beatrice will be able to make as a witch. She's trying to offer it to me, entreating me to solve this final mystery and kill her. Do it. I'll accept your final mystery.
You are all alone on this island, and of course, I am not you. Yet I am here now, and I'm about to kill you.
Like the souped-up version of Dr. Nanjo's murder. So...
Who am I?
Is that your final question?
Who am I?
And Beatrice slowly approached me and, still expressionless, held me. Yeah, I get it, Beto. I'll kill you, don't worry. I also slowly held her head, and as a piece, left the game board.
There it is. Let's let this music play.
Died in 1998!
Yeah.
Shit!
Yeah.
I didn't... Okay.
We'll just let the music play, then we can talk about it.
あなたが望むのなら腕も足も差し出せるわだからどうか願いを兼ねて一つだけでいいあなたが探してた春はここよそんなとこにはないのたどり着けない後ろの道は消えてしまった
your main man. There he is. No. Wait.
There he is. Captain Kawabata.
Doesn't even get like another name. It's great.
But I don't know. I mean, if Angie's journey continues, then I'm fine to accept that just some shit went down and she survived that encounter. The easy thing to be would be that Amakusa rocked up and he's like, oh shit, and started blapping them all, and that's why they're like, where is it? Where is he?
I don't know. Apparently she died in 1998.
I mean, I guess we'll find out.
That's all we really know, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, if you're suspecting that all of that might not be true, then like maybe none of it is.
I mean, my problem, sorry, not my problem.
After all, you can only trust the red truth, am I right?
I mean, the thing is basically is that I'm saying that I find it very interesting that she supposedly died, but I also don't find it critical to my theory.
Sure. I mean, it's off the game board anyway.
Yeah.
Alright, we have a tea party to attend.
Another one.
Yeah.
Ben, here it is. This is it.
I'm ready.
This is the end
Let's do it.
of the core arcs.
The end of the core arcs of Umineko no Nakakura ni.
We still have a few hours before Chiru's Steam release.
It's true. Plenty of time.
Ugh. The Witch's Tea Party, the question mark tea party, whatever you want to call it. Let's get some tea happening for this shit.
Pretty into it.
Oh, I am so ready.
Unknown. Kakura number. Whole bunch of bullshit.
What the fuck is a Kakera?
Kakura. It's like a world, basically, a fragment. It's stuff that we've been talking about with like the different fragments of reality. That's
Have
what a
we
Kakura
heard that
is.
name before?
Sure, I don't know if we've heard the word Kakura, but it's just a Japanese word that means fragment. Or,
Alright.
I'll look up the exact definition of it, but that's basically what it is. Alright, let's do this.
Scattered on a large bed were cute jelly beans of various colors and chocolates shaped like ohajiki pieces. A fork was stuck into a shortcake peeking out of a gift box, and there were decanters with drinks of various colors lined up on a side table. But the color of the partially finished drink that had been poured into a cup was venomous, matching none of the decanters.
She, Ben?
I know, I don't know what was happening there. Somebody had probably been playing around, mixing various things together. There can be lots of fun if you don't mind the taste. On top of the fluffy bed were several colorful, big pillows like something from a dream. And on this bed that looked like something out of a child's dream world, Ben Castle lay face down, and Landa Delta lay face up, clutching a pillow and relaxing.
It was pretty thrilling this time, wasn't it? I got really panicky when Beato said she'd stop the game.
What a rude witch. To start a game like this and try to end it by throwing it all away.
Wasn't Angie a good piece? After Beato ran for it, Angie dragged her back and made her resume the game. Although it's a shame she gave Battler a little too much enthusiasm.
After all, I knew Battler was a softie.
No kidding. He looked like he might even go easy on Beato, his enemy.
I was uneasy that, like the last game, he might actually feel compassion for Beato and take the game in a weird direction. Angie was a trump card to get Battler back on track when he mistook his goal. Although I wanted her to support him a bit more before using her up. She really did get used right off the bat. What a waste for a piece that required so much preparation.
Good thing I shackled her with that rule about not giving her name. If that hadn't been set up, the brother-sister tag team would have swallowed Beato up whole and won in the blink of an eye.
I thought it'd be a chance for them to press her all at once, but your mark was so restrictive that I couldn't make the best use of her. What a waste that piece was.
Isn't it obvious that such an unfair piece would have been retired right away? Well, in the end, she did a good job of preventing the suspension of the game, and that helps me out too. That way she made both of our interests match, has not made her a truly wonderful piece.
She was an innocent kid like Battler, so it was easy to get her to do as I said. Morons and impulsive types make the best pieces. I really can't stand losing that piece.
By now, that kid's minced meat. Hey, let's make hamburgers out of her later on.
Star.
Didn't you like gyoza more?
God damn you.
I wonder what little sister tastes like. Hilarious.
Is it really okay for you to be so relaxed? Thanks to Angie, Battler's gotten all fired up. I'm pretty sure he started a hot pursuit of Beato, making this game take a big turn in my favor, right? I mean, didn't Battler just solve almost all the mysteries up until now? Looks at camera.
Huh? Not even close. Almost all of Battler's Blue Truth was wrong. Beato's lukewarm red is full of holes. If she has any brains in her, she'll slip through it easily by setting up a suitable web of twisted logic. Yeah, it really ticks me off. If it were me, I'd thoroughly cut down all of it with red.
Oh, really? And I was sure that those were all correct. Well, I don't know about that small bomb part, though.
Man, he
Thanks, Burn.
fucking... he knew what he was writing when he wrote that.
Of course he did.
Oh, what a fucking meme.
Yeah.
Who?
Great question. Yeah, this is you.
Not all of Battler's blue truths were valid. When talking about the first game, Beato clearly declared that she guaranteed the identities of all unidentified corpses. This defeats Battler's theory about the culprit of the Eva Hideyoshi closed-room murder being someone who faked up a corpse. Next, Cannon might have died in an accident in the boiler room, but what kind of accident could drive a stake into his chest? Are you a moron? I'll slice that up with the red treasured sword thing. Oh! Cannon didn't die in an accident.
Oh my god.
For the next one, the murders of the three, including Genji and the parlor, the thought that it was a simultaneous murder where they shot each other in a clockwise direction is laughable. Genji, Kumasawa, and Nanjo were not the killers. And finally, Trap X to kill Natsui was also ridiculous. The thing that shot Natsui wasn't a trap, it was a real shooting murder with a gun raised and trigger pulled. Sucks for you.
You shouldn't do that. Saying something like that in red, that kid's trying to say that she bounced Natsui's bullet back with magic and killed her.
Oh, how terrible of me, you're right. Even the blue truth for the second game was way too naive.
She's such a dick.
When the six were murdered in the chapel, the culprit was inside the chapel. That guy keeps trying to explain things using Trap X. What the heck is Trap X, some weird mystery novel cliche?
Lana Delta.
It's also laughable to say that in the case when Nanjo and Kumasawa were killed in the servant room, someone inherited Cannon's name. No one else can go by Cannon's name. A different person can't claim that as their name. And that theory about borrowing the master key from Rosa for Natsui's room is also worthless. After the master keys came into Rosa's control, never did any of them leave her hands, except for the time when she lent one to Battler to unlock Natsui's room. I can keep going on, but just taking a quick look at them turns out like this, get it?
Forget taking a quick look. You just denied Battler's blue truth for the first and second games across the board. My, what a shame. If Battler heard, he'd faint.
Right? Vita wasn't cornered at all. Looks like that kid's a pretty good actress after all. I'm sure she planned to make it look like she was getting cornered this game, and then sometime next game, bang, she'll slice it up with a single red stroke to make Battler freak. And then I'm sure she'll say it again with this huge smile. Witches never get into a pinch.
Then that whole tragic atmosphere as though Beato was getting cornered was all an act.
Isn't it obvious? She really is a great actress. Even though she wasn't cornered at all, it felt like an astonishing last episode climax. Fuck.
Yep.
She's totally not the winner for the best supporting actress.
She is.
So she's
oh my
totally-
god.
She's totally the winner for the best supporting actress this year, but of course I'm the star. Do fine too, Ben.
At the end, she said something like, "Kill me," and laid out a big riddle. Wasn't that her last stand, with Beato to be finished for good if that riddle was solved?
Come on, were you seriously tricked too, Ben? That wasn't even close to a last stand. Peter's still holding back a killer hidden move. When she stuck out both hands to give the final riddle, did you notice how she lowered just her right hand?
Yeah, now that you mention it, is that what that meant?
Sure is. Kid still had plenty of hidden moves left. None of the mysteries have been solved. That tension like she'd been exposed and the next episode would be the last. She truly is a genius at acting. Yeah, I want to see her knock Battler down at the very bottom right away. The kid's being totally encouraged by her North Wind and the Sun strategy from last time, right? I'm sure Battler will sympathize with Beato again and fall for it completely. After all, a single tear from a woman can fool a man. Totally economical and profitable.
I wonder if Battler will get caught by the same move again. I've got to spur him on so we never feel sympathy again, although Angie's mincemeat seems to have done that pretty well.
Power up from Angie flavored hamburger? Of course, I won't lose either. Starting here, I'll thoroughly support Beato to rally her up enough to compete with Battler. Beato won't lose. I mean, I'm threatening her with a wonderful punishment game if she loses.
Your punishment games are seriously not cool, so you should go a little easy on her.
I've decided what to do for your next punishment game, Burn. Wanna hear?
No.
Come on, ask me. Guess what? I'll lock you in a wonderful, wonderful castle. That castle will be surrounded by pure white castle
Sounds
walls,
fun.
12 kilometers to a side.
Sounds fun.
With a height of 10 meters.
Sounds fun.
Magic and tricks are prohibited.
Yeah.
You really couldn't jump over that, right?
Hold on. What?
1,440,000,000.
1 billion! 1,440,000,000 cubic meters. You can stop there. I already know what you're going to say.
And that place will start getting buried with gems, one every day. I'll lock you until the castle walls are packed with them and you'll be buried to death with gems. Isn't that wonderful romantic punishment game?
If you multiply the length of the walls by 5 and make it 1/10 its current height, I wouldn't mind if you shot me in it now.
Really? That would make it 3,600,000 cubic meters, right? Wait, did I say
You said 600,000.
600
This is
million.
great. This is great. All these big numbers. Never math on recording, guys.
Right, the time period for the punishment game would more than double, right? I get to keep you as my prisoner for such a long time. I really like you, but I love you.
Lambda Delta playfully approached Burn Castle, who yawned, looking bored as she touched the bottom of Lambda Delta's chin as though cuddling a cat.
You're betting on Battler's victory, and I'm betting on an eternal tie for the two of them. Doesn't that mean no one's betting on Beato's victory?
I wouldn't. Her chances of winning are 0.
Oh, how truly pitiful being told by the Witch of Miracles there's no chance of a miracle. Well, I wouldn't bet on her neither. I wouldn't bet on her either, right? I can say that with certainty.
It's also pretty sad when the Witch of Certainty says that you're certainly screwed.
Unusually for them, they giggled together.
I wonder how this game will resolve itself.
Yeah, that's the one thing we can't predict. That's why it's fun.
I won't permit escaping or suspensions any longer. I'll certainly make them continue their game and I won't let them run away. Even though I can't imagine what will happen next, I know it certainly won't end that way.
At the very least, it won't end with Beato's victory.
I mean, think about it. Neither of us is betting on Beato's victory. In other words, if it looks like Beato is going to win, she'll have us two great witches as enemies.
Exactly. Our powers are most in equilibrium when balancing between a tie and Battler's advantage. If it tips too much in Beato's favor, both of us will line up along the same vector and drag Beato back.
In other words, the instant Beato is in a superior position, she'll have to deal with both of us as enemies. A common front with Burn sounds fun!
Thanks, but I'm not going into a Competo candy bath with you.
Oh, I was gonna cover you with melted marshmallows while taking a Competo shower!
How pitiful. That child is a living toy. A doll you caught so you could play with me, Lambda.
I'm good at playing with dolls. I really can do it well, okay? I'm proud of being able to play with a single toy for hundreds of years without getting tired of it.
You're her ally at some times and opposer at others, toying with her for all eternity. How pitiful. That kid is now our doll.
That's right, that kid is our doll. No end has been prepared for that kid except the ones the two of us desire. In other words, I can say for sure that this can only end by repeating a tie for eternity because of me, or else with Beato losing and being destroyed because of you, Burn. As far as this game ending with Beato's victory goes,
I will proclaim it as the Witch of Miracles.
then I'll proclaim it as the Wish of Certainty.
Beato certainly cannot win, and a miracle certainly will not occur.
I don't think that was Burn. That was not Burn.
It's a bit of both. It was both. You double check the quotation marks.
Well, no, I mean, but your laugh wasn't Burn.
Oh yeah. Dramatic flair. That's
Dramatic
what it's about.
flair. Oh my god, Ben.
Yeah,
It's
that's it.
over.
Halfway point.
Holy crap.
Oh my god. And then Mirage Coordinate plays right at the end. Fun fact, that's totally Lambda and Burn's theme. So, that's fun.
Oh my god.
That's how it goes.
Is that like the swing version for your private jazz club? Oh my goodness. I'm a little disappointed, to be honest.
Yeah, what with?
At the end of episode 3, I was like, I'm fucked. At the end of episode 2, I was like, no. At the end of episode 1, I was like, what the fuck?
So
And at the end of episode 4, I'm like, yep, let's go.
here's the thing. I want to spin the chessboard around for you. You've been saying that it seems like things are easy. It feels like, you know, as I believe you said something about at the start of episode 4 that either proclaiming Kinzo is dead or saying that there are only 17 people basically gives the game to you.
I feel like it does, thus far.
So what does that mean?
I don't know. What the fuck's the next 4 episodes gonna be? I don't know.
I don't know. What does it mean if you think that maybe the game has been handed to you a little bit too easily? That's how you feel.
My prediction is for the next 4 episodes is that we're gonna get some wacky shit.
Probably. Okay. So I don't want you to think about the next 4 episodes. I want you to think about these 4. If you feel like you have the answer on lock and it's extremely obvious at this point, is that how you feel or not?
I don't feel like it's extremely obvious, but I feel like I have enough evidence to back it up.
So I want to propose something to you. What if Ryukishi wrote this with the intention that at this point you'll be able to solve everything?
I am completely expecting that this is the case.
So what does that mean beyond that? No clue? No ideas?
The thing is that this is the first game we've kind of had the structure of the game really like thoroughly interrupted.
Yep.
Like episode 3 was a bit wacky, but we still had, you know, the murders finished through, and we get to the end. This one, everything was weird. Not all of the stakes were there. Not everything added up.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
That's the Golden Land, my dude. It just looks weird because you've got the Fox thing on, but it's the Golden Land. We've also unlocked the music box, which you can go to and like check out the songs.
Oh, cool.
We should probably save the tips because we should go through the tips one more time and go through the Twilights,
damn! It's like a full collection of them.
Yeah, it's everything. It's really cool.
It's pretty nice.
Even as like their artists.
Anyway, next time, post-episode discussion.
I'm looking forward to it.
I am so ready.